remember liking that book in school. Was it Into the Wild? Chris McCandless, the guy,
the one
who,
where
like,
the guy
Yep.
dies in the woods.
I made a video about that guy.
Really?
Did he
I remember
eat poison potatoes or something?
There's a lot of theories. You're talking about why he died, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the main theories, the poison potatoes, where there was a kind of like beetroot in the area that he ate that there was like a specific strain of that would make you sick or whatever. I mean, really what killed him was that it got a lot colder than he was expecting. But
I thought you were going to say pride.
Yeah. I mean, in essence, it's like Chris McCandless is an interesting one. He didn't really value his life as far as like the actual living or like the longevity of it. He was very clear in his writings that he just valued the experience, like to do something others haven't.
My favorite of his writings is that sign he left by his van that says, "Please fucking help if you find this. Not a joke. God save me. Very weak. Can't hike out. Foraging for berries." It's something like that.
Bears are salivating.
Yeah, it says like, if I'm not here, I'm out foraging. Please. Yeah.
Did he?
His journal's so sad. Like the last few days of his life. Like, man.
I don't know his story very well, but I choose to believe his journal has story after story of him diddling himself in honor of Anne Frank.
I can't spare the liquid, but let's shake one out.
Load's getting smaller and smaller.
I'll forage tomorrow. It's me day.
Down to my last bottle of Lock and Load.
Yeah, that I just remember, like, that guy wasn't a wildlife survival expert. It would be like me going out there and starting a journal and being like, day 1, I'm avoiding the very colorful plants, but I'm starting to get hungry. It's like day 1, hour 4. Hunger's setting in.
Haven't seen a sun barbecue in
hour.
The 20-piece nugget I brought with me is running low.
What, don't you just hate it when you get a 20-piece but they only give you 1 dipping sauce? And who thought that warm ranch was a good dipping sauce? I wish I had service. I'd give them 1 star.
That's basically what his fucking book was. Just fail after fail. We're going to hunt for rabbits today. Those fuckers are quick.
The craziest thing is while he was in, he took pictures on a handheld camera. All he had with him was a .22 rifle. While he was in Alaska, he killed a moose. He like took pictures with it. Like how on earth was this guy like hiding in a tree and like get dropped down on it?
You'd have to shoot it in the fucking head or the heart or something.
Yeah,
but, like I don't even. I've never seen a moose in person, but I understand from the internet that they are colossal beyond.
They're like their back's like 7 feet high. Yeah,
they can fuck.
So I don't know if a .22 rifle can cut through enough thick muscle to get to the heart of a goddamn moose. So you might have to shoot it in the eye. I don't know, because if you hit its skull at the wrong angle, I think it'll literally skim off. Like it'll just ride under the skin and dink off its head. I mean, look at that. Gosh. Because parts of its skull are extra armored by the antlers and where they grow under the skin. Shooting that thing effectively and killing it with a .22 rifle, let's say we've got 5 shots, not 50. Yeah, it's not like a Ruger. If we got a Ruger 10/22 with like a box magazine,
I think he had a bolt action.
Bad day.
I think he had a bolt action.
Bolt action would be like in the video games when you try to do something like that, and you anger it and it kills you, or more likely it just run away and you'd never see or hear of it again. Yeah, it would be. It's a crazy accomplishment to kill that.
Done? I mean, slowly, but
where? Oh, it'd run away.
You hit it in the eye or like the side of the head.
How far would it get with a bullet through its lungs?
I'm pretty sure Chris
a long way with a .22 bullet through its lung. It would run beyond it. You'd never find it. Like I've shot deer and lost them, with a bow hunting. And that was a deer. This thing will run further than a deer.
I can run upwards of 8 miles an hour. That won't keep up with a moose.
I think Chris
in the wilderness. And what if you catch it?
That's a wolf on the right. Like that.
Yeah, and those wolves are pretty big.
With a collar.
Yeah, the people keep pet wolves up there. That's a thing you can do. Chris, I'm pretty sure he killed it with a knife. if I recall correctly.
Really?
Which, like, good on him. Like, I'm.
You know what I have seen that's really big? Bison. I've seen those in person.
Those are huge. Yeah.
Yes, I've seen those too.
Yeah.
I think maybe in the Smoky Mountains they have like a nature reserve park thing, and they have bison there, perhaps.
Yeah.
I may have been to the same place, but I've also saw them when I did that motorcycle trip on the Tat. They're just wild. Like they're free grazing bison.
And out in Texas, I've seen a bunch of. I don't even know the names of like.
Right, the various like the things that aren't antelopes but kind of are.
Exactly. So the according to like childhood like science or science class, there's antelope and buffalo. Let's move along. there's like 50 species of hooved animal in Africa, and so that dude had that's a kudu, and that's a Himalayan kudu. You see how its horns are black and spiral? It's like all these weird
fast and jumpy
or something
deer.
like that. That's what its name. So many different kinds of weird goats and deer and stuff there that I've seen. The coolest thing was that fucking camel. I wanted that camel. It was $8,000. What are you gonna do with a camel, though?
Where'd you see a camel for sale?
$8,000, and then keeping
Texas.
it alive is $1,000 a month.
Yeah, you can. So for $8,000, you could shoot it, and like that's what it's. You know, if you wanted to, because it's on a hunting preserve. It's like I mean, if you want to,
camel hunting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Are they even good to eat?
Oh,
Sure.
delicious! It's
What
the
was the
most
camel's
succulent
name?
meat in Arabia.
Probably, but are they good?
They say a sultan would trade 5 slave
Yeah, right.
for a camel steak. No, it's not good. It's camel. I mean,
I don't know.
Horse
Horse is probably good, and it's just like a shittier horse.
Yeah, I don't know.
I still think horse would be awful.
Dry.
I've thought of I guarantee you it's like jerky texture. It
What's
cannot
in
be
the
that
hump
good.
of
Really?
a camel?
Water.
Is it just fat?
It's fat. Yeah.
It's fat
Yeah.
It's not
with
water.
a lot of.
No, I'm
There's-
sorry. I'm
Do you think
sorry,
it was
Kyle.
like a canteen?
Yeah, I thought it was like a canteen. I mean, I didn't think it was literally like you could pop the side of it with a straw.
It sounds
But
like
I
you
thought
did.
it was some sort of.
Yeah, you thought
I was like,
Kyle was so impressive
I
with the
didn't
hour
think
thing
that it was
when
like
he
a
dropped the
straw.
ball with the camel.
You're having your own chickens don't fuck moment. Yeah,
That'll never happen. You still don't know where chickens come from.
I'm
Nobody
almost
does.
positive
Vertical titties.
they come from eggs.
Zach says they're vertical titties, and I'm
No,
going with
they're
that.
not mammary. They're not mammary glands. Those
Oh,
are still
they
on
are.
their belly.
They
no,
are.
no.
They are. Yes.
Don't
You're
try
out in
that
the
either,
desert?
Kyle.
Yes,
Don't
they
try
are.
that. They
Desert,
will
you
not
haven't
like
seen
it.
any for a while. Maybe.
They like it when you. So but the camel's name was Sushi, and it was like sushi, and the fucking thing would come running like a dog, and you could feed it carrots.
And you
It
wanted
was
to shoot
pretty-
it?
No, I wanted to own it. I wanted
Oh,
to
okay.
like live at my dad's farm, and like I wanted to go.
I thought you
They
said it was
probably
on a
lived to
hunting
be like
preserve.
50.
It was,
was.
but he has his pets on the reserve too. you
Oh,
know,
okay.
there's all
Well, that's a
sorts of
horrible
wildlife there.
idea. Why believe your pet's on a hunting reserve?
Well, no,
That's-
but all right, let me just say this: if you accidentally shoot the camel, what the fuck? What the fuck, Dave? It's a What were you here to shoot again, Mike? I forgot.
I thought that's what you were describing. I thought you were like,
You were
it's a
here,
camel hunting trip.
deer hunting.
Mike, you're
That's
not
what
going to
says
believe
here,
it.
Mike.
I just killed the craziest boar you've ever seen.
Yeah,
I
Mike
think Zach's
said-
right about the vertical titties thing because I bid it without foreplay and it didn't go over
Yeah.
well.
Camel was
Stop
definitely
biting.
mad. For what I know of women, probably.
I don't know why you guys are down on horse meat. I bet horse meat tastes good. The French
Dude,
eat horses,
no,
and they're great
no.
at cooking.
Isn't the fat content?
Have
a
you,
big
for
part
one,
of
have
it,
you
the
had like
marbling?
French cuisine, like true French cuisine? That's
I've never been to
like,
France.
I've had horse.
Yeah. It's like they're the people who thought eating live snails would be a great idea. Like,
I feel like that was just like arrogance on their part. Where they were like, we're so good
They're
at
still
like
eating 'em.
cheeses and like desserts that we're gonna make snails good. And
Mhm.
Still
they
eating
probably are good. I'd eat snails. I'd give them a go.
no,
You
no,
wouldn't?
no, I don't. I don't think I could bring myself. I don't
Do you
think I
like
could bring myself
oysters?
to eat anything alive. I do like
Yeah,
oysters.
I love oysters.
I would eat dead snails, but like the way I hear escargot traditionally served, they're always alive.
Oh, really?
fake.
I would prefer them to be dead. I thought
Wait.
they
Yeah.
were all dead.
Oh, no. We're gonna
I've
bake
had
that
escargot. It was definitely not alive. I'm gonna check that. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you don't want
I've
that
always
alive.
heard that traditional, like French escargot in the U.S. is cooked. I'd eat cooked escargot.
I would wager, and again, I only know what the YouTube people teach me. I would wager that snails carry some sort of weird parasites, and eating them raw, you could end up with some sort of a fucking worm in your brain that tells you that you're the devil.
Yeah, you should cook.
I'm going to only eat baked escargot.
And then we've got to get out the Key of Solomon, and it's going to be a whole deal. And it's
you have to go through, make sure you're not possessed.
Imagine if Wendigoon went crazy, like legitimately, like wearing clown makeup and showing up crazy. Okay. and that crazy utilized all of the weird darkness that he's read into, all of theology, all of the demonology, fictional and non-fictional. Not that some of it's real in the like brick and mortar way per se, but some of it was written
right
to be real. They're like, yeah, this is how I fucking call on demons, and it really was, you know. He could be a real scary guy. Like if he ever snapped and had that cold sweat down his brow moment where he's just sort of fucking twitching out, and that
you would.
Scary.
I Googled it. I couldn't find any source that said they were served alive. They all talked about how they were, like their intestines were cleared while they're still alive, and they're cooked alive, but not served alive.
Okay, all right.
I don't care about a snail being cooked alive. They don't even feel. They just feel crushed.
Just put that quick cement in their mouth.
Wait.
What? Air escaping.
Air escaping.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather have horse than escargot anyway. Lots of cuts of lean meat are still good. Like, I'm not saying that horse would be.
You are on this horse train. You are staying on it, bro.
They use horse in sausages, like hard salami-like sausages. Like they mix it in with pork and lamb or whatever in a lot of countries. I've had sausage, and then I was like, "Where'd this come from again?" I got like a sausage sampler, and it had horse meat in it. It said horse on the back, or maybe it didn't say horse, but it said like the food industry word for horse, and it was like, "Wait, what's that?
Equine.
What's that meat?" I don't know. I don't remember, but
I bet, Taylor, you live in a major city. You could get exotic food if you wanted.
I could get meats. some exotic meats. I would try horse. I don't even know how it's served. I doubt it's like horse steaks. I bet it's something else.
Zach, find us some horse steaks. I would like horse sausage, or like I could do sort of a charcuterie with, or maybe some sort of breakfast sausage that's like 50% horse, 30% pork, 20%. Just pork fat or something. I don't know.
I bet it looks almost exactly like a.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking, now that I'm thinking about it,
I could eat a horse.
Thank you. I was like ragging on horse meat for being lean, but it can't be that much leaner than like deer meat, right?
I bet it's like the same level of lean as
nothing can be leaner than rabbit meat, though.
That's true, and rabbit can be pretty good. So.
You got to sauce up rabbit though.
Maybe you've turned me around a little bit, Taylor. Maybe I'll go hunt a horse.
That's not how you eat a brace of conies.
That's not how you eat a brace of conies. A brace of conies. I need to rewatch that. Yes, ad time.
I keep saying.
Thank you for the
leanest meat available is Kyle's Tinder profile.
He is lean.
He's so lean. He's like
I'd eat a slice of Kyle.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't want to eat him alive because he's probably rife with parasites.
All that tests that you get in there, though, I don't know. That'd be pretty...
2022 Taylor is where the good meat is, right there. That's what you want.
Oh yeah, you want that. Just an absurd amount of marbling, the kind of steaks that you have to turn on its side just to render down that giant band.
Is this human cheese fed?
Yes, he's entirely cheese fed. It's like, that's cruel. That's cruel. How could you do that? It's like he did it to himself.
We found it this way, trust
me. You held down this poor man and fed him nothing but cheese for years on end. It's like, no, he's a free-range cheeseman. We gave him all the freedom in the world, and he signed his own death certificate.
Free-range cheese.
I love cheese. I can eat cheese.
Was there ever any like survival type training that you did? Like I gotta imagine, especially because like all right, so when Americans think of Australia, we think of a gigantic desert, and obviously there's the coast. It seems like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like most people live around the coast, and that Then there's that huge part of Australia that it's like, yeah, we don't go there.
So pretty much everything that's not on the East Coast or the South, like pretty much, there's like, imagine a U. So the West Coast, South Coast, and East Coast are all fairly populated. West, not so much. And there's one major city up the top in the middle. And there's one city in the dead center. And then everything outside of those is just uninhabitable almost.
There's a city in the middle?
Yeah, it's called Alice Springs. There's not much there.
Yeah, what do you think?
There's a casino, and that's about it. I've never been there, but I just know there's a casino from a book I read. That's about it. On the eastern side, like that's where all like the stuff you guys would know, like Sydney and Melbourne and all that.
So did you ever do any like survival type training out there in
much
the
in
outback?
Australia? So in Australia, like you do like all your first aid stuff, and they focus a lot more on snakes and stuff like that. Because like I didn't step on, but I nearly stepped on probably about 5 snakes during navigational exercises and they were like nasty ones too. My mate honestly saved my life probably 3 times. I just didn't look down that much, But when we went to Thailand with one of the exercises, we had like the Thai special forces do a survival thing, and that was loose. He had like snake's blood for us to drink. He had like just the most random shit. And what are the ones with the 2 dots on the back of their head? Is that king cobras?
I have no idea. We don't have those here.
I think they're king cobras. He had like us in a circle, and it wasn't a big circle. And he just chucks one in the middle of us, and he's got a stick. He's just flicking it back to the middle every time it started moving towards the edge. And it was just like, it was loose. He was like playing with all these snakes and that. And he pissed in a bag and drank the piss. And it was just like, this is loose.
Was this Bear Grylls?
Yeah, this is like the Thai Bear Grylls.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and
the population of Alice Springs is 25,000. That's a town at best.
Yeah,
it's smaller than a lot of suburbs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in Malaysia there was a survival thing that I didn't do that one, but it went for about 3 or 4 days, and they build huts, and I think they get like a rabbit and they skin a rabbit and eat the rabbit, random stuff like that.
Skin a rabbit and eat the rabbit. Did you see any Thai guys do that thing where they stick their head in a crocodile's mouth and like dare it to bite down?
No, none of that shit.
Oh, that's disappointing.
So like, I always explain the army as something like this. It's like 65% is sitting around bored out of your brains. There's about 30-ish% of like back breaking, shoulder breaking, knee breaking agony of like walking around or lifting heavy shit. And there's like 1 to 5% of like the most coolest shit you'll ever do. So you break that down into days. There's like maybe 2 weeks of the year actually do anything cool. And then the rest of the year you're either just sitting around or breaking your back.
The cool stuff. Like I got to imagine that's when you get to play with like different weapon systems, right?
I've shot pretty much everything the Australian Army has for a normal soldier, not special forces or anything. Just some of the places you go, sometimes you're in the moment, you don't really think about it, and then you stop and you're like, holy shit, it's cool. Like some of the stuff on top of mountains and that. I'm big on mountains, so for me, going somewhere really scenic is always nice. I don't know. There's just some cool shit you do. I need something to trigger my brain to think of them.
Did you get to blow any shit up?
We've used a lot of deck cord when I was in, blowing up trees and stuff like that.
Yeah,
banking claymores. I think the most amount of claymores I've seen being banked up was probably about 15 to 20. So that was a pretty big bang when that one went off. Claymores aren't really that deadly. Like obviously you wouldn't want to stand in front of them, but the bang is brutal. Like if you were like anywhere within 50 meters of a claymore and you weren't ready for it, you'd hit the deck. You'd be fucking.
Yeah, it's a real sharp explosion too. It's not that like rolling boom. It's just a pop. It's very, very loud. Anything plastique is, a dead cord's really fun though. Dead cord's one of the most fun things to play with.
Yeah, so pretty much I think I can't remember the rule is, but you do a certain amount of laps around a tree for every thickness, and then you can blow up trees and shit. I shot plenty of Carl Gustav 84mm rocket launchers and seen plenty of Javs being shot. I've shot plenty of 66mm. 40mm are always fun. They're absolutely the rule is you got to try and get as many in the air at the same time. So like when you're at the range, you're like, could we get next one? I've shot the automatic grenade launcher, the Mark 19. That's fun. That's probably the coolest gun I've shot. I've actually got a really interesting story for you. So I've shot a heap of 50 cal. And so we used to be mechanized when I first got in the battalion I was in. So we all had to get trained on how to use the 50 cal. So if we ever quickly get in the vehicle and start shooting it if we have to. But we did a lot of ground mounted stuff as well. So we had it on a tripod, and this one time we did this massive attack, and then we changed position. So I had to do the support position where we were just shooting to the background, while this platoon was pretending to attack up to shoot this other stuff, all live fire. So this was one of the coolest things I'd done at this stage. So this platoon probably had about 30 people. They're attacking towards these targets popping up. They're shooting, just all their normal guns and throwing grenades. West off to the side, probably about 150 meters to the side, with we had 284s, 266s going off nonstop. We had 2 ground mounted 50 cals, and I think someone shooting 40 mil, all going off into behind to where they're attacking. So obviously it's safe for them. They're not going to get hit because we're shooting but it's to simulate a fuckload of noise, realistic noise, as they're trying to attack a position. Anyway, so I'm behind this 50 cal because you had to be qualified on the guns to shoot them. And I'm behind this 50 cal and I'm shooting it, and I got about 300 or 400 rounds in. I had the stoppage, and there's different types of stoppages, but this one was called a hard cock. And so what happens is the cocking handle wouldn't go all the way back. It was jammed halfway. And so my section commander came over and started kicking the shit out of it. That's actually how you actually get it out, right? So you got to just kick the shit out of it because they're big fucking guns. He kicks the shit out of it, and it finally dislodges the round that was stuck in there or whatever it was. And in the process of this, something happened, and I'll get back to that. So my company sergeant major was standing right behind me. He's in charge of the gun line, and he's like, "Yep, continue firing." I'm like, "Yep, seeing I'm firing now." And I went to shoot it, and the gun blew up. Right, legit, just massive breech explosion, big puff of smoke and just metal going around, and natural reaction, I covered my face and hit the deck, right? It's hard to explain it, but imagine having a tripod going, I don't know, down like that. It's hard to fucking explain it. But you have your feet up on the fucking legs, and your groin is aiming directly at this fucking 50 cal. So your dick, everything's just exposed to this gun. And the breech on a 50 cal is underneath it. So everything that comes out goes down. So when it blew up, I hit the deck, and I'm covering my face. My company sergeant major was standing behind me. He's like, "Are you all right? You're right." I'm like, "Yeah, face is good." But my leg fucking hurts. And there's blood coming out of my leg right next to my, right where your femoral artery is. So it's right up in my groin.
Shit.
And it's just seeping out, not gushing, but I was it was fucking hurting. And so instantly, we knew something happened, and a bit of the cartridge blew out of the bottom, went in, missed my femoral artery, missed all my nerves, and just lodged right up in my groin. And it was the first time anything like that had happened any time recently. So it was big stop. And then the ambulance got called forward, but the ambulance didn't know where the fuck it was. They went to the wrong spot. And there's this golden hour rule in the military. You're always going to be within an hour of the hospital. Tell you, if I was fucking going to die that day within that hour, I was no way I was getting to the hospital. But instantly, as soon as it happened, pants were ripped off, fucking everything's out exposed. My mate's got his arm on me, his hands on my fucking groin. It's fucking shit was going everywhere. And it's just almost literally. And it was actually a pretty fucking freaky story. And
yeah,
to actually explain what happened, I think in the process of the actual gun being kicked, the barrel dislodged. So the way a 50 cal works, the barrel's loose and it comes back and it gets pushed to the side. And I think in the kicking of it, it actually pulled it center. So it was actually just sitting in there. And when I cocked the gun and put the next round in, imagine that's the whole of the gun and the round sticking out the back. It actually had a bit of the cartridge still sticking out the back. So when the firing pin hit the primer cap, it blew the back of the cartridge out. And the actual bullet of the 50 cal was stuck halfway up the gun with half the cartridge still attached to it. Because they actually cut the barrel open on the investigation. And all the other part of the cartridge came out the bottom and into my leg.
Yeah,
so,
you just made a little. It's just a little brass pipe bomb at that point. We used to take empty 50 cal hulls, put some black powder in them, put a fuse in, crimp the top, and you've got little mini hand grenades.
Yeah,
and that just blew up right next to your dick.
Yeah, so I missed all the crown jewels, so everything's all good there. But Yeah, it was fucking pretty scary moment. And I was
What
only
a
new at that
terrible
stage.
way to lose your dick.
It would have been. Yeah.
How'd that happen? Well, my commanding officer, it was kicking the gun I was using, and then I tried to fire it, and now I don't have a dick. Like
So
that,
initially, everyone was blaming me. Everyone was blaming me, saying it was called a cook-off. So you shoot too many rounds, and the feed gets too hot, and it blows up because like the round goes in, and before it can even fire it, because there's so much heat going through it, it just blows up the round. And that's actually quite common. I've actually seen a fair few YouTube videos of it. Mine was definitely not a cook-off. Like I did nothing wrong, potentially. Like I was only a new soldier anyway, but later on that year when I was in Malaysia, there was another guy. He actually had a cook-off, and he's blew up and actually went into his testicle.
Ooh.
And he was screaming that he was on fire, and no one believed it. Like, because they knew he blew up. It blew up, but he's like, "I'm on fire." And they started calling him Ricky Bobby from that point onwards because he had a bit of brass in his testicle.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And I've never met anyone else in the military that had that it happened to. So
wow, what a lucky guy.
Yeah.
So you get I don't even know how it works in the U.S. military. Like, do you get a Purple Heart or something for getting injured, or is that only in like actual like
the enemy has to shoot you? I think.
No, so you're always covered under veteran affairs and that if you ever get an injury in the military. It's a bit of a process to get all the claims and that in, but once you do have it, you're covered for life. So, for example, my leg starts to play up now, which it hasn't yet. I would have it permanently covered for the rest of my life. Like I've had busted ankles and stuff like that. That's all covered because I've filled out all the documentation for it. Mm-hmm. So if I ever go to hospital and my ankle's playing up and I need to get an ankle reconstruction, they'll pay for it. But you got to fill the paperwork out. It's a pretty lengthy process. You're also covered for cancer, except for brain cancer. There's a few things. Even just as soon as you've served, you get covered for certain things.
Seems like
not brain
cancer covered.
Well, okay, one of my best mates has brain cancer, and he's still serving. So,
well, we can't afford to cover the brain cancer after all those tests we run on him.
Well, technically, once they boot him out, because he's going to have to get kicked out eventually. There's going to be a point where he's going to lose function to half his body. He's not going to be covered by the military.
That's
potentially.
Jesus, that's bullshit.
They're paying his bills at the moment, but at one point they'll be like, But the good thing for them is they're using him as a poster boy because, like, this guy's got cancer and he's still serving and doing all this great stuff for cancer, research, raising money. And
what kind of cancer does he have? Don't worry about it. It's the coin we're covering right now.
So, yeah.
Is he going to live?
No, he'll die from it.
Sounds pretty bad. Yeah.
So, I don't know the exact name of it. His Instagram's Willie Beating Cancer. And it's a tumor in his head. They can't operate it out. If they do operate it out, what will happen is probably lose function to part of his body, half of his body. Just not sure to what severity. But because he's so fit and healthy already, the surgeons pretty much said, live your life now because it'll be better than being, half paralyzed and not being able to do anything. But he'll eventually either get the surgery done and then have a few extra years, or it's that coin flip. Like, what do? Do you live?
Remember how you said it was hard to get fired in the service? I'd put that to the test, right? Go AWOL, live my best life, which probably involves not working a bunch.
Well, whilst getting chemo and all that, he actually got a really good opportunity to just pretty much taking as much time as he wanted off. Because 1 week of the month he'd have chemo, and then the week after he'd be fucked. Mm-hmm. And then he had 2 good weeks. So the 2 good weeks, he literally just did whatever he wanted.
Yes.
But then he'd be, then back to the chemo week, and it was fucked again. And
he needs whatever drugs they're pumping into Ruth Bader Ginsburg, if she's even still around. Because if it can knock out, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, my understanding, the most lethal cancer out there, it could help with brain cancer, right? She needs to share the load, share the love.
Wait, maybe Share the Load is our charity.
Share the load. Yeah.
Samwise Gamgee quote. I like it.
Yeah, that's bullshit. That sucks. Man, how old is he? Is he, like you said, he was fit, so a young guy? Oh, Jesus.
24,
that's
you
tragic.
said?
Yeah. Yeah, he was one of my diggers when I was Lance Corporal. I was in charge of him.
What is a digger?
A soldier, just an infantryman.
Okay.
Private. The guys dig holes.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's a digger. He digs holes. Yeah. God damn. I was hoping you would say he was much older than that. 24. That's pretty tragic.
But he could live for another 20 years.
Yeah.
If he lives healthy and they keep monitoring it, it could hit him all of a sudden, and it's not gonna. See, the thing is, he'll know he's gonna know it's having effect on him because it'll slowly put more pressure on that part of the brain, and he'll slowly start losing strength in half of his body. So his hand grip will start getting weaker, and he'll know it's coming along. So that's when he'll take more drastic actions on what should happen. But by that stage, it could even be too late to get surgery. So,
man, I'd so much rather just get hit by a bus one day and not know, just like you're gone, hopefully
Really?
many
Are you
years
sure?
from now.
I'd
as
like a
opposed
little
to
heads up.
Like knowing that it's coming, like, oh, I was trying to do my workouts and stay fit and I couldn't hold on to the dumbbell in my right hand. I thought it was I thought I felt something last week, but no, I thought it was just, maybe a nutrition thing. But oh man, now it's coming. It's coming down the pike and it's not going to stop. That's scary.
He was massive into just partying and traveling, which the traveling part's all good. But now he's actually started to do a lot more meaningful stuff with life, as in he's actually doing the things he wants to do, like, drive fast cars and go do all this cool stuff, because it's kind of just said, well, it's not just about partying now, it's about living life to how I want to live it. And that's kind of how I live as well now.
So after I worked as a translator for the Americans, as I told you earlier, when I stopped working there, I was introduced via some people to an orphanage that needed a data analyst and an entry specialist, that kind of stuff. Basically behind the computer, entering data from paper to digital. So I went there for an interview and I got the job and I started working there, basically for an orphanage. And I used to basically take stacks of papers filled with information about orphans, their parents, their possessions, what do they have, how much do they earn, and then put them in the program that I helped kind of a bit develop in Visual Basic, really basic data entry program that we made up in house. Later on, we went on to use Access, Microsoft Access, which was a lot better. Anyway, so one of those days I was done with work. I was like about 6 months after starting working there. I was in Najaf. We live in Kufa, which I told you about the war story earlier. That's a bit far off. So about 20 kilometers away from home, it's Najaf, which is the main city. And there was a lot of tensions about car bombs in Baghdad and this and that. So there has been a lot of security, a lot of Iraqi police, American police. So one of those days I'm done and I go out and I see a lot of women lined up in front of the organization. They just always come up, line up there to get help and to register and whatever. Mostly rejected because of random reasons. So anyways, I go out and one of those women approaches me and she tells me, please help me. I've lost my my husband a few months ago in the war and this and that. And I got 7 kids and I don't have income. I don't have anything. And the roof of our house is about to come down on us, basically because of rain and all the rotten things. So it's like, oh my God, I know I could take your papers and go inside and they'll probably tell me what they always tell me, that, yeah, there is not enough sufficient papers or this or that. Or basically, she would be rejected. So I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to tell you. I'm trying to tell her, but she just keeps insisting. So I take her papers, go inside, talk to my colleague, and it's like, yeah, you know what the answer is. So I come back outside, and then immediately there's a incredible bang that I feel like a lot of glasses shatter, of course, not very near me, but about like 500 meters away from me, half a kilometer. And a lot of glass shatter, an incredible boom sound that just almost deafens me. So we look up and then there's this whole black smoke in the sky. And funny thing about this story is that my mother still to this day doesn't know about this. And if she knew, she would have made me stop working at the organization. So anyway, I never told her. And of course, she heard in the news the next day, but I told her it was far away. She didn't know where my organization was. So I go out there in the main street where it happened, and I look to the south where it happened, and there were a lot of fire, a lot of people screaming. And the stupid idiot me being like, I don't know if it's brave or anything, but a lot of people kept going toward the direction of the car bomb. And so I did the same. I just kept walking toward it, and the closer I got, Oof, that was a very harsh experience. A lot of legs, a lot of dead bodies, a lot of blood, and yeah, that was one of my most harsh experiences I've ever experienced. So yeah, that was pretty much it. A lot of police came over and started cleaning up the streets, and immediately.
What do they do with
that,
the body parts? Are there people walking around grabbing arms and legs and like putting them in a bin?
Yeah, so you know the Toyota trucks that you also have in America?
Yeah.
The Iraqi police uses one of those. And basically they pile up all the bodies in the back trunk and they just take them away.
I got a friend who's a volunteer fireman, and he was talking about a wreck on the interstate highway, which is for your purposes, Ahmed, we go 70 miles per hour on those. So it's our faster highways. And someone had died in a car crash, and they were just splattered. And I'm like, what do you do? He's like, I had to go out there and shovel this person up and put them in like a bag. Like there's a certain, like all of them we could get needs to go in that bag. And like they're like, get as much as you can. Yes. And I'm like, well, what's the consistency? Like, I gotta know. He's like, it's like, it's blood, it's guts, it's like,
it's just viscera.
Flesh. It's stuff you can't identify. You're like, I don't know what that is. It's just mushed flesh, pink and organs and just and they're just scraping up as much as they can and then just depositing it into the bag.
Yeah, thankfully I didn't do any shoveling or anything, but I just stood there like an idiot and watching, and a lot of people screaming and a lot of women screaming, a lot of shouts of Allahu Akbar, which is funny thing. You guys heard about Allahu Akbar, something that people shout before they blow up themselves. But in our culture, in the Islamic culture, Allahu Akbar is kind of used in a contextual way, like in a way that you call for God's help, just by praising him. So you say, God,
I think it's very similar to when, if you ever watch like a YouTube video of Americans and something bad's happening, we say, oh God, oh God, oh God, exactly, oh my God, exactly. Oh my God.
That's a great example. A lot of people don't realize this, but that's exactly how we use Allahu Akbar. So you hear Allahu Akbar, you freak out, but in Iraq it's kind of normal.
Although I will say you don't always use it that way. I've never heard an American go, oh my God, oh my God. But on the other hand, I've seen plenty of Muslims go, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, and everybody gets pumped up and they start fucking.
We are very
like, come on.
We are very smart people, and we use words in a lot of different ways. So that's all I say.
What is for when you were walking over there and you saw the bodies and everything? Was it like what was going through your head? Like you were probably it was almost surreal, probably. Like did it take a little while for it to like settle in that it actually happened and it wasn't almost a dream sequence?
It took me a day. It took me a day to realize what I've been through. I was in shock at the start. So I go in there, start walking. Some people talk to me, and it's like, help me out, take my carriage out. Some people are trapped under there. Basically, some people were trapped. They were injured but trapped because of a carriage that the blast has pushed on them. So I helped them drag a carriage. I start walking away again and start watching the police come over, and they start moving people. They start looking for survivors, this and that, and my shoes were all over blood. So I go to the corner and grab some plastic bag that I found on the ground, and I wipe my shoes, and I just walked home. Walked to the bus that took me to home. And at that time, when I went home, you won't believe it. It was like a normal day. I didn't feel anything. Like I've never, nothing has happened to me that day. Nothing has happened. I went home, and it's a normal day. I just had dinner, talked to my mom, just played a video game, turned on my laptop, put my Lost episode. I remember very specifically, I watched Lost that day. And then I go to sleep. Next day, I wake up. Oh my God, the feeling is pretty much undescribable. I was like, I don't know, depressed, shocked, and I don't know. It was really harsh. And I remember,
weird. It's weird when something happens.
But 9/11 was like that. Like the nation needed permission to care about sports again, to laugh again, to like there was a national sorrow after 9/11. And then, of course, we didn't see body parts, in the same way that you did. But I feel like it's similar.
Yeah, exactly. That's
it's weird how like you'll see. I just imagine you seeing that. I don't know how far it was from your home, but several miles from your home, and then
about 30 kilometers.
Okay, so
miles.
Just down the road, something horrible, almost undescribable has happened, and you've been right in the thick of it. But then you go back home and everything is exactly the same. Like that other shit didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like this shit back here is completely independent of that. And it doesn't seem right because what had happened over there seems so terrible, immense, and important that how can things over here still even be the same? How could there still be sandwiches to be made at home when there's legs on the ground 15 kilometers away?
Processing
it's a weird thing for us to deal with.
Exactly. Couldn't process it at the beginning, and then it took me a whole day to even realize what I've been through. And it's like I was at the time I was 18, I think, 2008 this was, and so I was the next day I was completely shocked. I didn't play video games, I didn't read a book, I didn't do anything, and so I just went to school, did my thing. I remember very distinguished. A lot of people asking me what's going on and this and that, but I didn't answer. Just went home, and then a week later, life just went on, and just forgot about it. But I still have nightmares about that. So
yeah, that's fucked, man.
That's horrible, dude.
And you know, you're
well, basically just me being. I don't know if I should describe this, but I have a lot of weird nightmares. But one of them is that I'm completely drowned in blood. And a lot of people asking me for help, but I'm too arrogant or something. I don't know. I feel like I don't want to help them. It feels like I can help someone.
You've got survivor guilt. You feel bad because you couldn't do anything while you were there. That's what that's about.
Oh,
you were there and you were helpless and there was nothing to do and there's blood everywhere. That's what that dream's about.
I don't know if I never thought of it like this, but I always like when I wake up, I feel like all sweaty and everything, but it always feels like I could help someone, but I don't in the dream. I mean, and I just
it's
keep
because
walking.
You have that guilt inside you. There's a part of you that inside of you that believes that when that thing happened, that like maybe there's something I could have done. Maybe there's but there wasn't. It's that's exactly what that's about. You should think about that more and maybe get some professional help. I don't fucking know. I don't see a psychiatrist or anything, but maybe honest, just on your own, just realize that that's out of your control. That was a horrible thing that happened to you, not a thing that you were a part of or had any control over. And you know, you would have helped if you could. You know that you would have if there'd been a man there. If there'd been a man there that said, "Ahmed, help me and get me," you know you'd have went there. I would find solace in that. I would imagine this if there had been. I'd imagine that scenario in which you could have helped because you couldn't have been in the real life scenario, and thought, "What would I have done?" And the knowledge of what you would have done, I think, will bring you some comfort if you think about that. Like, I'd have helped. I wouldn't have said no. I wouldn't have drowned in the blood. I'd have tread through it.
No, but I think one of the reasons as well, because I saw a lot of people helping out and a lot of people doing something, you know, and I feel like I was useless. I was in shock. I think I didn't know what to do, so I just kept walking, and then at the end I just cleaned up my shoes and went home, and the buses were just riding like normal. And I heard when I went a few days later that 2 days there were no buses. If I was half an hour late, I probably would have walked for 25 miles. So that's
how old did you say you were? 18?
I was 18 at the time when I started working there.
That's a really difficult situation to be in.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
my
Kyle
life
really hit it on the head.
Yeah, Kyle might be right. I mean, to be honest, even when I dream about, when I have a nightmare about it, or anything else, I never think about it. I just wake up and it's done. Never think about it. Never even try to reflect upon it. But it's interesting the way Kyle said it. So anyway.
Yeah, dreams mean things. We talk about those dreams. We talk about those dreams where we can't pull the trigger. What do you think that's fucking about? That's some sort of performance anxiety. That's some sort of fear within myself that I won't be able to not literally pull the trigger, but figuratively pull the trigger in some regard. Maybe I can't do this or can't do that. That I'm going to fail. That's all that's about. It's a fear of failing, and it's a fear of some sort of weakness inside yourself. Most dreams that are serious that come back to us more than once. Of course, we've all dreamed of something random, like your fucking teacher in blue panties, but that didn't mean shit. Other than maybe you wanted to fuck your teacher.
Yeah.
This means something though, something really important to you. You should think about it. I keep a dream journal. Well, I'll tell you what else I've been working on. Every time I walk through a door, knock on the door, and I say, "Am I dreaming?" Nope. And I've started doing it so much. I heard Joe Rogan talk about this and like inducing lucid dreaming. And the idea is that if you do this enough, if every time, and I mean every fucking time you walk through a door, you in your head or whatever, see like a moron, like a maniac in public. Don't be like, "Am I dreaming?" And then walk through. Don't do that.
Whisper it to yourself, inconspicuous like.
That's what I do.
Do you sleepwalk?
No. But what's going to happen though is you're going to be in a dream and you're going to knock on a door and you're going to say, "Am I dreaming?" And you're going to be, "Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am dreaming." And then you're going to be able to initiate a lucid dream, take control of that dream potentially. And it's a skill that you can work on and you can harness and you can have some fun in your dreams.
I've never thought about dreams like that, but I do sleepwalk sometimes. That's also another problem I have with that. I've never went really far outside, but maybe something to do with what you were saying. But whenever I open the door, like the main door to the house, I wake up. I've had that like 2 times in this house, which I've been in this house for 4 years now.
I used to sleepwalk too. I would argue with people.
I found that when the dream blanks out like that, it often means I either don't have the necessary information or I'm afraid of the necessary information. But when I was a virgin, every time I had sex, when I put my dick in a pussy, the dream would end because I don't have the necessary information. I don't know what that's like yet. Now, when I put my dick in a vagina, I'm like, dick's in the vagina. but for the longest time, every dream, I'm like, huzzah! What the fuck just happened? And then it
I
would
don't know.
I've
had that before. Before I had sex, I've had a lot of those dreams, and the sex would continue. I don't know what you're talking about.
Lucky bitch.
Yeah. The sex would continue.
Yeah, the sex would continue. I promise that.
Yeah, my brain didn't know what a pussy felt like.
Yeah,
know what to write there.
Have you ever been in trouble and knew that trouble was coming, but it hadn't come yet?
But just go ahead and enjoy this because like you can't get in any more trouble.
Right.
So shit.
Like I busted curfew. I know when I get home, I'm in deep shit. So might as well enjoy this.
When I was maybe 12 years old, or younger than that, probably like 9. You know those wagons you'd pull? I'm pretty sure I told this a while back. There are those wagons, little kids, you pull them and you see the moms walking down the street and they got the big plastic Fisher-Price wagon and the 2 kids sitting on the bench in there. Well, I tied my younger brother up and I put him in there at the top of a very large hill in our backyard. And there was just a willow tree down in the middle of the yard. And as I was about to push him, I heard my dad screaming from up there going, "Taylor, don't you do it! Don't you push him down that hill!" And in that moment, I was like, I'm in too deep. And so I pushed him because I'd already tied my brother up and I thought it would be neat to see. And I just thought he was going to go real quick down and then just kind of come to a slow stop on the grass. But I swear to God, he must have been steering it even unknowingly because he goes and then careens straight towards the willow tree. I could see the willow tree kind of becoming his new target. And I could hear my dad like stomping down like the loud wooden stairs, you know, from the porch down to our level so he could run over and grab me and I could be scolded. And it was just kind of in that moment, right as I saw in slow motion, my brother going for that willow tree, knowing he was going to hit, knowing I was going to have hell to pay, just doing that thing from Gladiator where I closed my eyes and kind of like put my hand out and felt the wheat around me and heard that song. And I was just kind of like, you know, reality, it really is beautiful. You know, like I'm just happy to be a part of it before this, you know, savagery that's about to partake. But that was one scolding. I remember where it's like, oh man, like I'm gonna have to go like pick my own switch or something. But which was always terrible having to go pick your own switch from the like I got like spanked, I'm sure, but like no, I didn't get beaten. Jesus, no, just like the corrective.
I got beaten. I remember my mom.
So that's what happened.
Beat me one time so bad that I shit my pants.
Wow.
And
all right, can you just stop the fucking show right now? We need to have like an intervention, right? like we need to like get a third party in here to help evaluate. You got beaten so hard you shit your pants.
I did.
Now,
no, this happened.
Like, wait. To set a standard, Kyle, when I say that I got like beat or hit as a kid, you understand it to be like a wooden spoon when I was bad, right? Or your palm, open hand, or a wooden spoon, not beating a kid until he poops himself. So give us this. No.
I don't remember what I did exactly, but I think it was showing some kind.
The beaters are listening right now.
Yeah, they listen to the show, but it doesn't hold me back that much. They I think it was like I showed some measure of disrespect, right? And so she's beating respect into me, and like just beating and screaming and like just like having at me. And I shit my pants. And in my head, my first thought was like, oh my God, is there really shit in my pants? And then like there's that sort of warm, comforting shit in your pants that like I was like, all right, this is like mildly pleasant, but oh no. And yeah, that's me as a kid. So
Can we get the age?
Yeah. Well, oh, age?
18.
7. You know?
7, okay.
Yeah. And
man.
so she's beating the fuck out of me at 7. I shit my pants and I'm like, no. When she finds this out, it's just gonna get worse, right? When she finds out that I shit my pants, she's gonna ramp this up to next level, and now I'm totally fucked. Like, oh no! And I start crying, and you know, and through my sobs, I tell her that I pooped myself, and but the unexpected happens. She goes easy on me, and she feels bad that she beat me so much that I pooped myself. And now I'm like, wait a minute. Is this a strategy for future beatings? Like, is this a thing that I can like reproduce on demand to end beatings sooner than they would have otherwise ended? So
So you were starting to plan like preemptive shits where you're like, you know, I'm gonna get a little ornery this weekend, so I'm gonna load up so I have a quick
fiber, lots of fiber for the weekend. I'm gonna be a bad boy.
Just talking to your dad. Now he's just shitting before I even hit him like a dog would. You know?
So she instantly had. I mix up sympathy and empathy. I need to hit the dictionary, but she instantly has some sympathy for me, and you know, like whatever, retrieved clean clothes, and I sorted it out, and like it was the move to solve the problem.
That is child abuse. So wait.
What you call child abuse, I call childhood. All right.
Oh, wait, it's like nature. So these
most victims do.
Make that your fucking Reddit tagline thing.
I'm such
your
a
flair.
Puss. I'm like such a pussy now. All the stories of like, man, then I got a real whooping. It's like very measured. Like you get 5 whacks with the spoon and like that.
When I was
describe
7,
the nature of these hits. Like, were these open hand, closed hand, like in the stomach and the head and where were you getting hit?
There wasn't a particular aiming going on. I'm like cowering, you know, and she's hitting me. She might hit me on the shoulder and the back and the ass. In my bedroom. I was in my bedroom.
Are you in the corner cowering in fear?
There's a corner made from the bed and the wall, and I'm in that corner. Yeah, and so I'm not on the bed.
I want to try something here. Let's recreate it and see if Woody shits himself. So she's looming over you, right? She's big and powerful. The blows are raining down on you. Too many to count. You feel a strong pain everywhere, all over your body. But then there's something else. An urge. You can't stop. And it's warm and smelly, and the shame fills your heart. But the blows just keep coming.
Yeah, I remember I told the story to my wife not that long ago. It was in my head for some reason. And she's like, I feel so bad for little Woody. Like you know, the child version of you. She's like, it's just sad. And I'm like, what? You didn't get this?
Nah, man. The kids that got that, they take away.
I've never hit my kids, not once. I don't even soap them. That's not my thing. I figured out early that if I use like
my dad would throw 3 or 4 of those in a pillowcase. Just really give it to you.
My wife, she would use she put on her 2 fingers and she'd put like liquid soap on there. I remember the first time ever, I've told this before, my daughter was back talking like hardcore, right? She's like, I don't know, I'll call it 6 or 7, I'm not sure. And she's just yelling at my wife, like, hi. And Jackie, like a ninja, has like liquid soap on there, and she goes, whoosh, and she soaps her tongue. And then Hope kept yelling, and she blew a bubble. It's the greatest thing ever. But I never had to soap because I could get them.
A child that shits itself.
Yeah,
that's a real generational gap, you know.
I could get my children to cry by yelling at them. You know, just
of course you could. A little emotional abuse, a little really terrorizing.
It's not like I do this much,
tears out of a child.
But like, you know, all I need to do is be stern with them for like 10 seconds in a row or something, and they would get into tears. So with that, like,
that's what you want. That's how you know you've won.
Okay, man, I don't know. I feel like my kids are gonna tell the story like my dad yelled at me for 10 seconds until the tears went, and their kids are gonna be like, "Oh my god, what a monster!" But yeah, that's all I've ever had to do. Like,
have any of us ever had mental health
I know Anthony probably has a couple of good stories about taking a few savage beatings from the dad.
Can you beat my stories, Anthony?
Actually, when I was about that age, 7 or so, my dad would use the belt, and he would threaten us by hanging it on the doorknob. Sometimes if me and my brother were talking when we should be sleeping, he would hang it on the doorknob and go, next time I come in. So we, of course, would be stupid and keep talking. Or for another reason, sometimes he'd come in with the belt and give you the talking beating, which every word is like, don't you ever do that. And you're like, oh, please, keep this short.
I'm glad Dad's vocabulary isn't that great.
You're really praying for single syllable words during a meeting like that.
Right.
Jesus, Mom, you lighten up on the verbiage.
So then when he and my mom got divorced and he left, my mom figured she'd pick up, where he left off with the belt when we acted up. And so she was hitting me once with the belt, don't you do whatever it was. And my father would fold the belt over like that, a double strap, and use that. Mom didn't know how to use it. So she had the long belt holding it by the buckle. And she hit me a couple of times. And it whipped around, and if this thing didn't perfectly go whack right on the tip of my little dick, just bam! I let out a scream. She thought she had killed me. She threw the belt down. What? I was like, I couldn't even talk. And my little dick blew up because it was wounded. And that was it. She never again picked up the belt.
Oh, you lucky bitch.
Woody was never sexually assaulted.
I took a dick hit from a plastic shark from my mom when I was maybe 4.
On purpose? She hit you with a plastic shark?
Yeah, I was like, my brother was down on the floor and I was very young. And for some reason, I was so young, I didn't have thoughts. I just knew that I wanted to bite his back severely. And so I bit his back a few times while my mom was on the phone, and my mom had to run over and be like, Taylor, stop! And she grabbed the big plastic toy shark that I had in my hand, and I'm naked because I was a free little boy. And so I was running around in that little circle where they're trying to whip you, but you kind of getting out of range until she kind of did that adult gets tired of your nonsense and use a little adult strength and snap the kid back around. And she gave me a solid wallop, and she immediately turned her attention to my brother because his back was bleeding because I had bit him. And I just sat there and just apparently gave out the most blood-curdling scream. And then she was like, Taylor, shut up. You stop. And I just sat there weeping, pointing at my dick area, and apparently my scrotum swelled up gigantic, and she had to call the doctor and be like, is it gonna go down on its own, or do I need to come in for a deflation procedure? I don't know what's going on.
Damn.
If it gets ruptured, you'll know, but he'll be fine in a little bit. Just let it settle down. And it did.
My mom threw a high-heeled shoe at me one time, and it took a bad bounce. It took a bad bounce, and the heel of it hit me right here on the cheek and drew blood. Nice. And I was just like, look what you did. Look what you did. And she felt terrible, of course. I was like, I because I knew, you can't fucking hit your kid in the face and make it bleed. So I was like, look what you did. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? I'm the crazy one. I'm the irresponsible one. What if it'd been my eye, Mom? How cool would I look with an eye patch right now? Yar! Fuck you, Mom. There were a lot of times moms are the worst disciplinarians because they're often weaker than their offspring, so they're not good at it. And you have no respect for them because of that fact. My dad comes around and it's whooping time. It's like, shit, I'm crying before he gets there. I hope he doesn't use the belt this time because he's a big dude and he wears a big belt. But Mom comes, she's got to have a weapon. She's got a shoe. She's got a plastic coat hanger.
She's got a kitchen armory.
My mom would beat me. And I'm totally.
I like that you said the high-heeled shoe took a bad bounce. I can't imagine a high-heeled shoe taking anything but a bad bounce.
Exactly.
They just can't quite.
I would get beaten, right? And I'm a real pale, pasty white kid and stuff. And I'd be like, look at this. And there's 5 distinct fingers on the side of my face. Or I'd show her my ass, look how red it is. And they're like, yeah, that's what we were going for. What, I'm supposed to feel bad about my success?
Having fingerprints on your face, that would be upsetting to me as a child, to get slapped in the face by my parents.
Yeah, I never got slapped in the
Did
face.
you just get used to it, Woody, or was it regular, irregular enough? Or I guess, was it regular enough that you got used to it, or so irregular that it was impactful every time? Oh Jesus, they slapped me again.
I like it wasn't that like, oh my God, there's fingers on my face. It's, oh my God, I'm such a bad kid. Like that was.
I'm so sorry.
That is sad. Yeah. I feel so bad for little kid Woody.
And it was somewhat unpredictable too. Like I remember I went to a friend's house.
What's the statute of limitations on child abuse?
That's what you want with a disciplinarian.
Harsh and right now.
Predictable.
I spilled milk at a friend's house. Now at my house, that was not a good thing to be doing, right? Like if you knock your drink over or something, like why were you so careless? And I'm like, oh my God, like, holy shit. Like, what the fuck is about to go down? I don't even know this person. And she said it was okay. And she cleaned the spill and she cleaned the bottom of the glass because that was a thing. Like my mom would clean the spill, but then I get in trouble for like, cause the glass was still dirty on the bottom. And she's like, now like you're leaving rings around. But I'm young and I'm stupid. Like, I don't know to clean the bottom of the glass. And, so like even after it's clean, it's not over yet because I'm still leaving like things under the glass, like little rings.
Yeah.
And
now, was this a time in your parents' life where losing a glass of milk was, hey, we can't be doing that. That's expensive milk.
My dad was professionally successful.
So we're talking about a kind of thing where milk is just
kept a
worthless,
clean home.
And if we needed to, we could buy 500 gallons tomorrow and pour it out, and nobody would ever know the difference.
Well, we didn't waste money, but.
Oh, of course not. Or you got a beating.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and you certainly didn't waste milk.
But when the friends, when they cleaned the thing and then they cleaned the bottom of the glass and it was all over, I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Like, yeah. And then there were times I wouldn't get in trouble. I remember I knocked over a potted plant and I'm like, oh my God, here it comes. Oh my God. Like I'm about to catch a whooping. And she recognized it as a mistake and let it slide.
They did some psyops shit to you, man. They were really fucking with you physically and psychologically.
This is like a behind the music Woody's gamer tag. Like seeing the origin story, like, oh wow, like spilling milk. I can't imagine as a little kid spilling milk and being like, oh, it's about to get real. Like the glass company isn't over.
Can I I don't know about everyone else's childhood, but if I had spilled a glass of milk, that held zero consequences.
It was a mistake.
Zero, none. Everybody was like, "Oh shit, you spilled your milk. Well, here, have some more, little guy. Let's clean that up for you."
Little guy.
Yeah. Right? It wasn't like you're gonna shit yourself tonight.
You think milk grows on trees?
I was a bad kid
Next time
though.
you're buying it.
I remember. So it was 5th grade, and I had this teacher, Mrs. DiMaggio or something called DeLorean, I don't know. And so what happened is she had made this chart for my parents to like sign that I did my homework because I wasn't doing my homework. I really was a bad kid. And I started forging my mom's name, and I just about convinced, I guess, the teacher that my mom had really childish handwriting. And we came in, and I had missed something like 27 days of homework in a row. And the teacher explained, she's like, Woody's not stupid, right? He's not a dumb kid. I have other kids in here, and I feel for them because they just don't get it. He gets it, but he won't work at all. Like I've been teaching for 32 years, and he is the single worst student that I have ever had in my 32 years of teaching. I heard this and I felt pride. Like really, number one? Like in 32 years? That's quite like no one's ever like dodged work as hard.
Because you were so damaged from that home abuse where you're like, well, I may not be the best guy at keeping milk in my cup or, not breathing too loudly when I sleep, but man, I'm at least the most difficult student this woman's ever had. So, I'll latch onto that.
After this like little parent teacher conference thing, we go back to the car. And my mom's like selling real estate on the side at the time. It actually, so my father was like this real estate wheeler dealer type guy in addition to being an accountant. And he realized that he could get out of all the brokerage fees if my mom got her real estate license. So she was doing that. And she was also kind of, I guess, selling a little bit of, houses here and there and stuff. So anyway, the point behind that is that she gave away these snow scrapers. The little plastic, like foot long snow scrapers. Yeah, well, she had like a dozen of them like put together with a couple rubber bands. And we get to the car, and I'm in the passenger seat, like up front. And I'm like, in the school, I felt like we had kind of worked out a plan going forward, like where she was going to check my homework and I was going to be a better kid. And she starts beating the fuck out of me with this bundle of scrapers. And she's hitting me and she's hitting me. And she said that I made her look bad. And I'm like, it's not you. I'm just a really bad kid. Like, there's nothing that you could do. And she would just beat the fuck out of me with those ice scrapers.
Like Jerry Lundegaard and Fargo.
Yeah.
Ice scraper.
I don't know the scene. But
bastard.
Now, hang on.
That is such a good comparison.
Was that the same teacher that thought that you were retarded?
No. That was 3 years later.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just make
the retarded one. The retarded one was 3 years earlier. This is fifth grade. You're thinking of second.
I want to have like a professional come in on the show as our guest next week.
Yeah. And then the fans will give me shit for retelling stories.
Dark shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to keep looking on HBO for something better. Otherwise, I'll just end up rewatching the original Band of Brothers, which is a great thing to rewatch. It's tremendous.
I love Band of Brothers. I'm sorry, I cut you off. I super loved it when it came out. But when I watch it now, I'm like, oh, you know what? It turns out that a lot of this isn't the part that I loved about it. Like, I want to say there are 8 episodes, and the last 2 are kind of not World War II anymore. Yeah. And the first 2 are kind of not World War II. They're like training, and we're getting to know the integrity of Captain Winters and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, when you get back to it, there's really just 2 or 3 great episodes, some of the greatest TV ever made in Band of Brothers, and a whole lot of other stuff.
I'm okay with the beginning. I do agree the end. It really, the end of any story can... At the end of the Lord of the Rings, it was like felt good to wrap up and give everybody their just, wherever they needed. But in this, it's like, come on, let's kill some more Nazis. Yeah. Like just a few more. We can find some that won't surrender. That's what I want. I want them to be like, hey, winners, they say there's some Nazis up north that don't want to surrender. They say Hitler's still alive. Well,
right.
Gotta kill it.
I want to go get those.
The last Nazis. Episode is about like, 100%. I don't know, soldiers getting excited and having car accidents or something.
If Band of Brothers were made today, after its huge success, they'd be like, look, we need a season 2. How about they go to Brazil and look for Hitler? And
that would be awful.
They did a season 2, and it was Japan.
Captain Winters,
well, like, honestly, with the Band of Brothers thing, I'm surprising you both like have that same take. Like, I disagree with Woody on the beginning part. I really like when they're like kind of
5 miles up, 5 miles down,
or Ross from Friends and Lieutenant Winters. Like, I really liked that development because it showed them like growing as a group. But you are right. Like, the end of the series, it's almost like after they're in Hitler's hideout, the Eagle's Nest or whatever it's called. Like, from there on, it's kind of like, okay, we're kind of meandering now. Whereas I think the end of the Pacific one is the one part that's better than the original, because the end of the Pacific one, the guy goes back and it's like really hammers home like how he's a totally different guy. Like, he's changed. He's fucked up now. He will never be able to even engage with people who didn't experience that in a way that's real, because they can't possibly empathize with what he's been through. Like, and that was the Pacific series, which overall still solid. I don't like not as good.
I dislike the Pacific. I made it through it once, and every time I've tried afterwards, I always end up going, oh yeah, I don't like this. Oh, yeah, I don't really like this. This isn't fun at all. This is like about the horrors of war. I want to see like come on, give me a little bit of that John Wayne shit. Everybody now wants to be anti-war. Fuck you. No, give me that John Wayne shit. Give me the sad ending if you want. But I want to have some hoorah, blow up the bridge, and fucking, Tom Hanks shooting at the tank, and then the fucking bombers come in. I want some happiness. I want some good times too. They
did make the Japs way scarier than the Nazis, as far as like the implication of like, you don't want to get captured by these Japanese. They'll saw your hands off and fucking inject shit in. Like they.
No, I think that's the case.
The stakes seem high.
I think that if the Germans took you captured, like whenever I'll say this, whenever I see a movie of a German prison camp and there's some Americans in it, they're like sassing the commandant and like wearing a leather jacket or something. And the commandant is like, I will only let you go so far, Kruger. And it's like, dude, the guy's got like doo-wop hair over there and a leather jacket on. How much farther are you gonna let it? It always seems like it's not so bad in the Nazi prison camps for the Americans. They're like shot down
for the soldiers.
The soldiers. But on the other hand, like I feel like the Japanese were just real awful pieces of shit. They're just scum.
Yeah,
and I was watching a great thing about the Japanese Zero today, and about how technologically advanced it was for its time. How the kill ratio was 12-1 in the Pacific.
Weren't they mostly just crashing it?
No. That's at the very end of the war. At the end of the war, when they didn't have any other way of, it was the last resort sort of thing. The Japanese Zero, really cool. The Zero outperformed everything it fought in the Pacific with a kill ratio of 12-1 in the early years.
No,
yes, the Air Force manual said to go to high altitude, to do a passing run on them, and then to go as fast and low as you could to escape, or you will die. Because they could not fight them at all. They would lose every dogfight at a ratio of 12-1. Yes, it was.
I had no idea we were getting wrecked.
It was so much better than anything the world had ever seen. The reports that came out of China, because the war for the Japanese began there, were that they were just shitting on them, and everybody in the West thought it was just exaggerations. They're like, yeah, the Chinese have biplanes, of course they're getting shit on. But no, when they started fighting, they were getting destroyed. It was only after they captured a Zero and they were able to understand like how it was made and the things it was sacrificing to do all the things that I'm describing, to be so maneuverable, to have a 500-mile range. I think it was sacrificing a lot. It didn't have any armor. It was like a millimeter thick, the outside skin.
It was just too quick to hit for the guys.
It was too maneuverable, and it weighed like 2,000 pounds less than the American plane that was its counterpart, so it could just outmaneuver them at low speeds. So the doctor
12-1. That's a horrible ratio.
Yeah, that's not good. That's
for the first.
That's a real shit show.
We were losing that bad for years.
Yeah.
Damn, I never
in the air.
Huh. Well, yeah,
in the air and dog
that's
fights.
Important on the Pacific.
I suppose so. It was mostly carrier battles, but they were sinking ships too with other kinds of aircraft. No, it was really interesting because I think Howard Hughes, the piece of shit that he was like, clearly it's a stolen design of the Howard Hughes Speedcraft that I designed, of course. And like finally they captured one, right? Like because the Japanese doctrine was if your plane is going down, it should go down as hard as possible. It should be destroyed. If you can, burn it. The thing that sparked the whole Japanese internment camp movement, the like case they used was where after Pearl Harbor, one of those planes crashed on one of the islands. The way news went in those days, the locals didn't immediately know that there was a World War II had begun about Pearl Harbor. But long story short, some Japanese natives on that island allowed that pilot to escape custody, burn his plane, and shoot a couple of the natives there, injuring them in the whole process. And so they used that Japanese couple as the scapegoat, if you will, for the whole Japanese internment camp thing. But yeah, they finally captured one, and they saw how that one, like a single hit would destroy it. Just a lucky hit would. And they also saw that, I guess it wasn't very maneuverable at high speeds because it didn't have any hydraulics. It was,
so
sacrificing that.
What did the Americans in their existing planes do? Because they couldn't just be like, all right, shoot more accurately. Like, did they have to immediately go back to the drawing board, design a new plane kind of like the Zero, and then put the Americans in there?
Well, they had to change their tactics right away. Like I said, they could fly at a high. The Japanese Zero could climb to 33,000 feet or so, 34,000, 10,000 meters, and it could do it extremely fast. The American tactic was to stay high and to do one run as you like dove through the Japanese, and then flee because their top speed was faster. If they dogfight, they were just going to die. And later they had better planes. They
back in World War II, planes. We were just not the power we are like we were later. Like,
we'll see.
Like we were getting owned by the German tanks in Europe at the same time, right?
So we had to like a potential fight with China, because I agree with what you're saying. Like we went in there and we didn't have the technology advantage. What we had was a manufacturing advantage.
Yeah.
And over time, we even had a technology advantage. I think Kyle was about to explain that as the new planes came in, the Spitfire, etc., we were better than the Zero. And that happened after 1942. Like, I think better Spitfires.
The Zero wasn't getting better every year. What the Zero was holy shit, you are 10 years ahead of your time when it matters. You have peaked on the tech tree in this one little area right when you needed it. And they just shit on the whole world. But the Americans, they weren't just the Japanese had a system that could produce like 100 good pilots a month or something like that. They only had 550 total Zeros ever, I think, or at their highest number. But because they had that maybe 500-mile range, maybe it was 500 kilometers, really far, they were able to exert their influence on a much larger region with 550 planes than anyone could imagine. So they thought there were thousands of them because it seemed like there were. And they weren't losing a lot of them either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it's really interesting. I'm impressed by your guys' World War II plane knowledge.
You gave me too much credit. I was reading the Wikipedia as Kyle was saying it. Everything he says is right.
When you said, I think it was after 1942, I was like, what? Like,
I had known that for seconds before I said it. But Kyle seemed to know it all. Anyway, if we were to get into a fight with China, would it be the same thing? Would we walk in there with better tanks, better carriers, better airplanes, and then they would have this manufacturing capability that allows them to do to us what we did during World War II?
I mean, they would push our, if it was a manufacturing battle, like they'd push our shit in. Like, it's not even close at this point. Like, so we'd have to have a really superior design.
I don't think any. I'm sure someone knows, but I don't think that I'm equipped to even begin to understand what that war would look like. I guess we're fighting over Taiwan, right? So,
if that's
what it is.
Like their backyard.
Oh yeah, we're fighting right there. When the Japanese are going to be there, New Zealand and Australia, the massive Pacific Fleet. Look, I'm always the guy like going oorah American power because God, we just outspend the rest of y'all 10-1 or some shit.
Yeah.
I just think
as long as that dollar is the trading currency of the world.
Look, I just think the U.S. is going to win every time because they outspend so much. I just think that when it comes down to it, like our shit'll just be a little better, and there will be more of it. And I don't know that the war is going to devolve to that 1950s thing where it's literally factories pumping out. We need more planes. If we need more planes, that suggests that we're losing planes. That we're losing them at a huge rate. That means we're losing pilots too, right? Like I don't know if
let's
either
say
country
both sides.
I don't think either country is set up to train new air forces full of pilots and get their 5th or 6th generation planes pumped out in a timely fashion. Planes don't work like that anymore.
Well, let me ask you, if there was a country between the US and China that could do that, would it be the US or would it be the country with all the manufacturing and with 5 times our population?
What kind of manufacturing are we talking about, Taylor? Are we talking about building shitty steel? Are we talking about building Chinese cars? Are we talking about building the cutting edge technology that you need to fly under advanced radar systems and deliver laser guided, radar guided bombs precisely and pinpointly to dissolve a country's entire infrastructure?
And to add on to what Kyle's saying, like, also, this is an environment where we're trying to invent new shit, not just copy what America did 5 years ago.
Yeah, like, but I mean, the idea that the U.S. even has the option to like vaporize China's manufacturing districts, like they would do the same thing the Germans did and change and just constantly be switching fucking machineries and shit in all these normal ass manufacturing plants. Like they can't outproduce us in a way that we can't anymore. The U.S.
What are they producing though? That it goes back to what my question.
Military equipment.
What kind?
Tanks, planes. Any of that shit they can do faster than us. It may not be as good. I'm just saying they absolutely can. And the U.S. depends on China's exports a hell of a lot more than China depends on the U.S.'s imports, which means that the U.S. has a vested interest in not destroying the entire manufacturing economy of China.
Well, I think both sides have economic worries if they go to war with one another. I think it'd be a massive global event, far beyond like the military, like might of it all. But I don't know what that war even looks like. I don't think anyone. I think we all. You see what's happening in Ukraine, right? Like nobody knew what that war would look like. It turns out it looks like 21st century World War I all over again. They're in fucking trenches in the snow out there.
I thought Ukraine was going to lose this day. Like they lost the Kiev airport for a few hours, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I thought it was over with that.
You know what? I bet that's a whole fucking movie. I bet the siege and then retaking of that airport is a whole fucking Die Hard-esque movie. Because what it sounds like happens is the Russians landed fucking paratroopers in their capital, captured their airport with what I can only imagine were the baddest James Bond
skeleton crew,
Sylvester Stallone cocksuckers Russia can muster with their night vision on and their fucking hex grid armors or whatever. Like landed at the airport, took that shit, and there were some Ukrainians somewhere that got a phone call and they said, "Hey, the fucking Spetsnaz just took our airport. The country could fall within hours. They're here for the president." And they said, "All right, we're on the fucking way." I want to know that guy's story. Like he hopped in the truck with his gun
say it with an accent,
killed those people.
Yeah. Team 6. Like that would be cool.
The seals come out of the back. There's like Russian SEAL Team 6.
They're here in the water.
maybe like
giving them sardines. Hard as fuck. They got those metal teeth like dude had
like Jaws in
K9,
007.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm or no, I think most people agree with this. I put a lot more, I guess, respect on China than Russia as far as like capacity and shit. Like I feel like Russia isn't at all equivalent to China. Maybe I'm like being silly.
I think Russia's been a third-rate power for a long time. I think that's being exposed right now.
Like China's real deal. Have you seen the fucking shit they have their kids doing in school? They're all fit. They're bouncing basketballs and sink.
Taylor, no.
Michael Jackson dance.
Michael Jackson dance. They're thrilling all over the Chinese yards.
It's a problem.
I see that as propaganda. I bet if you showed a bunch of Chinese podcasters who were like normally censored and had never seen it before, I bet that if you showed them the fucking crowd at UGA when they start throwing up the letters to spell words out and told them that this was our students and that this was what they're spelling was death to China, and like they'd be fucking scared if they saw 85,000 people fucking spelling shit. Little do they know they're spelling "go dogs," and they couldn't give a fuck less. Oh, we eat dogs.
Oh, we hate dogs. Yeah. We come to America, we gonna eat all your dog. We conquer you and then we make you watch when we eat your dog.
The whole football team's scared. Like, it's about us.
If the ATF was a country.
When we do get conquered, I was joking about that, guys, fellas, when we get conquered.
Are you worried about upsetting our 5 Chinese viewers who are using a VPN?
Oh, this is the final straw.
I'll start reading that like what was that massacre they had the
Tiananmen
Square.
Yeah, I'll start reading the Tiananmen Square wiki. Get y'all all fucking locked out.
I would never do that just to a poor Chinese viewer because they'll get you. Or I guess not from reading it, but they can't look it up.
I haven't seen the video, but somebody was saying that in Rust, they were dealing with Chinese hackers and they're outside their base like screaming in Chinese, and they just started reading that whole Wikipedia article. It's like I get removed. Yeah, that's like bad mojo over there. You know, you can't be talking about all that. That shit didn't even happen as far as they're concerned. That's like Voldemort's name and the N-word mixed together.
And currently a special like security guard fighting pirates or something? What are you doing lately, Tim?
Yes, I do that. I mean, if it involves being behind a gun, I pretty much do it. Most recently, I've been doing a lot of television. We're chasing down Nazis in South America, which is fun. It's way better than pirates.
What?
That's a thing? There's still Nazis in South America?
Yeah, they're really old, so it's kind of depressing. Like,
is that true?
You're creeping up on Nazis. They're in walkers.
No, they're not even in walkers. They're like in their deathbed. And then you're like, oh, hey, you know, all that stuff that you gave to your kids and your grandkids, we're going to go ahead and assume all of those assets because you're a horrible person and you shouldn't have lived this long. You should have died 60 years ago, but whatever.
Kyle.
Wow. Yeah. Some good old sins of the father, biblical shit.
Yeah.
We know you had nothing to do with it, but sorry, go into the slums.
Yeah. Well, they'll never really be in the slums. But I don't really feel that guilty. 7 million Jews is kind of a lot of Jews.
I'd say too many. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna go out on a limb there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to make that a stance, but I honestly, until like the last 30 seconds, I would have put money that you were joking about the Nazis in South America thing.
No, not joking.
Wow.
No.
Nazis. There's how old? Like they have to be in their 80s, right?
90s.
90s.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You know,
man,
this ties back to my like, if you live an absolutely terrible life, but it works out for you until like 93, it might have just worked out for you, period. Right? Like, what's he going to get jail for the last month?
If you're on your deathbed and then some gringo walks in and it's like, hey, that big, huge ranch that you left for your kids, we're going to take that. And then everything that they have in their bank accounts that is connected to you in any way, we're going to take that too.
Okay, I'll admit that sucks, but his kids are like 70, right? So even his kids did pretty well for a really long time.
Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I was picturing children. Oh my God, I'm a fucking retard. This guy's great grandkids are old enough to vote.
Yeah. If his kids are in their 70s, then their kids might be in their 40s and 50s. Like his grandkids had a pretty good run at all these like seized Jewish things from the previous century.
He's so old that he's like estranged from the youngest members of his family. Where when they hear about it, like, great Uncle Ted's a fucking Nazi. They'll be like, well, he did bounce me weird on his knee. I can see that. Like that.
Oh, that's what that swastika tattoo on his neck was from. God, I'm an idiot.
Should have put it together.
Thought he just really liked American History X. He was a big Edward Norton fan.
It was on repeat constantly. Only a couple scenes though. Really weird. Same scenes. Yeah.
So you're filming a TV show with who?
So we did, the first season was called Hunting Hitler. And it was on the History Channel. And we looked at, if it was possible, had Hitler escaped out of the bunker in 1945, what would he have done? So my end, they brought in, when they hired me, they needed a guy that could use UAVs, that knew ground penetrating radar, that had hunted people, like high value targets type people. And I did it in reverse. So I started where, if I was him, where would I have gone? And then kind of followed the rat lines back to Argentina. And then to prove my theories, to see if it would have worked, we had to find other Nazis that had done that same thing, which is where the depressing part comes in.
Oh. Huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the reaction like when you walk in and I'm sure some of them are like, all right, well, fuck, I'm getting my comeuppance. And our other ones just like, huh? Like they have no idea why you're there.
Dude, they've been lying for so long. They still won't admit it. Like, hey, look, here's a picture of you. Here's your military ID card. Here's the address that you lived when you're in Berlin. Like, this is the boat that you came here on. Here's the day that you landed. Here's your signature that matches your signature in Germany. I
apologize. I don't even speak English or read English. I don't. I've lived it my whole life.
Second guess yourself though, because that's what I would be doing. Like if I caught this guy and we had all this information, he's like, none of this seems familiar. I would be like, huh? Are we sure this is the dude?
No. Yeah. I mean, you have to understand the culture of Nazism and the secret, especially since 1945, the way that they behaved. Living in Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, and they've had to live this way through countless presidents, some of which supported them, like Perón, like Evita's husband. Evita, that girl. Her husband was very supportive of the Nazis, and he was actually part of the Nazi Party. But then 2 presidents after him, they started a commission to track down Nazis. So then these guys all shuffled and had to hide and hopping borders. So they've been doing this a really long time, and they got really good at it. There's areas in Argentina that still exclusively speak German. And me being a big, red bearded white guy, I walk into a coffee shop, and they're just sitting there talking in German to me. I was like, no, sprechen no Deutsch, dude. Like, let's speak Spanish. I speak Spanish. I'm in Argentina. Can we speak Spanish? Is that cool? Can I order coffee? Oh,
that's
weird.
Wow. Spanish.
So how many
to answer your original question, what am I doing? I'm doing television. I'm still training for a fight. I still go to Africa to try to find poachers. I haven't been looking for pirates very recently. I'm trying to bait ISIS to try to come and kill me, but they're a bunch of pussies, so they're not going to do that.
I told everyone about your T-shirt. Like I was looking forward to you coming on the show, and I guess, am I going to mess this up? Did the CIA contact you and say that they had a credible threat?
That would have been cooler, but no, it was the FBI. You know, like
I mixed them up.
Well, as long as it wasn't Twitter. You know, like, oh, fuck you, go die. Like, you take it a little seriously.
I get my death threats on YouTube, and they're just fat rednecks. So
yeah, that I could aspire to that. You know, you have me there. I don't have a lot of fat rednecks.
No. If you saw the video, you wouldn't be impressed. He's just some dude driving, holding a cell phone.
I don't know any dude taking a video, especially if he's fat. I think it's kind of humorous and entertaining. It's like, I'm gonna kill you. You know, like, don't mind my man boobs and my Pabst over there. I like the blue ribbon. You know, hey Henrietta, bring me something to drink. No, I'm gonna kill you though. You know, I think that's hilarious.
So it's
you host the show American Ninja Warrior, and I watch that occasionally. And what percentage of the time, when you see someone go up there, are you like, I have to really put on a face, but there's no fucking way they're completing this? Is it like 50%?
It's funny. Honestly, I used to be much cockier about the idea that I could predict how people were going to do. And, you know, other than if it's, I mean, last year we had a guy 77 who got through at least one, maybe two obstacles, who suffered a stroke.
What?
And so,
wait. Did he have the stroke before or after?
He'd had it before. It was amazing.
I literally thought it was after the second obstacle.
It was. We haven't had anyone have a stroke on the course yet. Honestly, the worst injuries we've had, I shattered my foot trying an obstacle, which is one of the probably top 10 worst obstacles or injuries we've ever had. It's been shocking, but usually most of the people are reasonably fit, and I've been surprised enough times to where I just am usually I just say they're going to do better than I am, so let me at least watch and see what happens.
Can you make money as a competitor on that show? I mean, like, obviously the winner makes something, but
yeah, not well, this is where NBC loves this point. We don't pay anyone. We're starting to pay them. So whenever we do qualifying, we don't pay. We don't fly them to the city. We don't put them up in a hotel, and we don't pay them. There are bonuses if you're the fastest, and we've added something this season. Another way to earn cash that hasn't been announced, so I won't spoil it. But it's you can get $10,000 on the course. And other than that, if they go to Vegas, they'll get like a stipend. But no, so no one's making money off competing on the show. People have opened up gyms and are starting to make some successes that way. But by and large, you know, for the most part, these are people who are competing their own passion. And when you, again, it's the time that they probably sink into training or building a course or joining some of these ninja specific gyms. I don't imagine there are a lot of people coming out in the black on it. Which is what makes it even more remarkable, is the passion, dedication, and sacrifice, not just time, but they're not making millions of dollars off this. And we have a handful of ninjas who've been able to get endorsements. Jessie Graff is now Under Armour sponsored. She's done ad campaigns for them. Megan Martin does stuff for Athleta. Like Joe Moravsky, I think, has a deal with Macy's or something. But even still, I don't think they're moving into mansions. So yeah, it's amazing.
I feel like as they progress from like stage to stage, it should be like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Like there should be an increasing dollar amount that's on the line, and getting in the water and they lose it all or something like that.
Like there are so many of those competitors that you see come up, and like, you know, the little vignette they run of their backstory. Yeah. Like you'll see them and it's like, you know, I quit my job at the post office. I sunk everything I have into this $24,000
makeshift office equipment and tires from a junkyard, and like halfway through that,
here,
like
Taylor.
they like put sad music over it, and I'll be like buying into it, and then I'll be sitting there like, wait, you chose to do this, like
Yeah, no, we did. We had to get Brian Arnold was the guy who quit his job to do Ninja Warrior full time because he thought he was for sure going to beat the course, and he didn't. And he's ended up making a living, and it's gone on well. He's part of the Wolf Pack, but some of those, you're right. It's a questionable financial investment to try to be a Ninja Warrior. I don't think again though. Like, who am I to say? I sunk all this money into becoming a doctor and quit that to end up moving out to Hollywood, which seemed like probably not the best financial move.
Yeah, but you're still a doctor.
It's right, but I'm not.
Worst case scenario,
I'm not.
Just go back to being a doctor.
Right,
that guy's post
true.
office all
Very
full
good point.
up.
He can't stumble back into TGIF Friday and put that flare back on. They're gonna be like, "No, go jump on those tires some more, bozo."
That's a good Office Space reference.
You've lost your tenure here.
Yeah, it's you guys. We can't point this out because you guys are gonna really make people question why they're competing on our show. Every one of the competitors is going. You're right. This is a cash war proposition.
I was asking because I have some friends who I know could do well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, they're parkour coaches for a living, and I'm just like, why don't they go on the show? Right?
Yeah. It is one of those things of, but so it makes sense in that case. If you have a gym or if you have a career, you go on there, or if you're a trainer, the best commercial you're going to have is doing well on the show. Then people will want to come train with you. So for a parkour coach, but a lot of these people have ended up kind of backdooring that, where they competed on the show, did well, and then said, oh, maybe I'll make money being a parkour coach or being a trainer or opening a gym.
Yeah. I don't know.
It
seems like a little risky.
It's a lot better to host the show than it is to compete on it, because I'm in Nashville and I'm going out for barbecue for the second night in a row, which none of our competitors get to do. I don't think they seem to eat very healthy. I don't.
These stories so far are mild compared to my dick, balls, and gang rape and beheading stories.
Yes, and I got all that written down. So all that written down to address. So like you mentioned it and we moved past it real quickly, but I was curious. So you said, and it was on one of your videos, what do you do if some powerful guy, the Hitler, portrait guy, green lights you to get your shit pushed in and beat the fuck up? If that gets greenlit, is there any way to go to that guy and be like, hey, I'm so sorry, let me give you some Snickers? Or is it like, no, once that's okayed, you're fucked. He can't go back on it or he'll look weak or complacent. Like, how's that pan out?
Prison rape is so common, there's a rape class now that you have to attend under PREA, Prison Rape Elimination Act.
Yep.
It's mandatory.
A rape class. Did you learn anything? Are you better at raping now than before?
Prisoners were joking on the way to the rape class.
I went to the rape class myself.
So you watch a video, and there's some guys in the day room, some predators. The young prisoners coming in are hungry. If they take food, they're in debt. And once they got you in debt, they got you. They say, look, you got to pay this debt or else we're going to kill you. Well, I got no money. Well, you're going to go in that cell over there, do whatever he says, and that will pay your debt off. And if you are weak-minded enough to do that, there's no turning back. That's called getting turned out, becoming a prison punk. They rent you out as a prison prostitute, and you're ruined. At the lowest level in the prison is punks, snitches, and chomos. So the conclusion of the rape class was to stop rape, you have to report it. If you report anything, you're a snitch. So after we went to the rape class, a young mentally ill prisoner was gang raped, and nobody reported a single thing.
Oh no! Yeah. Like, he gets raped in the rape class.
after the class.
Right after, yeah.
Oh, so that was just like an FU to the guards. Now, the story of Xena, who was a transgender prisoner, 6.5 foot, charismatic transgender prisoner. She seemed happy living with her boyfriend when I met her in prison. He was protecting her. But decades before, when she first came in, she was big, weightlifting, clicked up with the Aryan Brotherhood gang as a debt collector. It's blood in, blood out. These gangs use people up and they brutalize them. So I asked Xena what happened. She said the first time was a gang rape. They beat me until I was unconscious, raped me while I was unconscious, and shoved things inside my body. I said, well, what did they shove inside your body? A broomstick. I said, well, how did you know they were raping you if you were unconscious? She said, when I went to the toilet afterwards, I could tell by what came out. I said, well, what did you do after being raped? I sat in my cell waiting for the scars to go. I got moved to another yard, but the same thing happened. They beat me up, raped me, used me as a sex toy, a prostitute, a punk. There's no recourse, no one to talk to. You can't go to the guards. They'll throw you in a dungeon for months or years and say it's for your own protection. You can do absolutely nothing other than kill the perpetrators. The victim is labeled a rat, a punk, and considered less than human. I said, did you think about killing the people who did this? Yes, I did. I also thought about myself, and I still do sometimes. And then Xena started crying. She couldn't answer any more questions. But she came back because we were writing a blog to raise awareness of prison rape. And when she came back, I said, does this mostly happen to youngsters? Yes, it does. But it can happen to anyone. Big, bad dudes, skinny, ugly. People who aren't street smart, who don't understand the mentality of ghetto life, they get picked on the most. I said, well, how did you stop it? I took the abuse for as long as I could and I started fighting. I won most of the fights. When I stood up and told them I didn't care about living or dying, it stopped. You've got to be ruthless. Now, that is understatement. Xena hadn't told me the truth as to how she stopped this gang raping business because she didn't want to risk getting in trouble for what she'd done. Xena was studying anatomy, and the next 2 times the gang members came to rape Xena, the first member of the gang to put his hand on Xena plucked his eyeball out.
Holy shit!
So it was dangling from the optic nerve. And that's what I thought when I first heard that story. Holy shit, is that even possible? So I had a workout partner called Iron Man in prison, and he told me to join a dojo. He told me to join a dojo when I got out. So I did karate for almost 10 years. And they teach us in karate, it's called bird beak strike. You just go bam into the eyeball like that, and it comes out on the optic nerve. Now, Xena did that twice, 2 separate occasions.
That's what I'm laughing at, by the way.
They came back to rape her again, and she did it again. So
what's so funny is that she plucked an eye out, and they still came back.
Yeah. So they classified her as extremely dangerous because that eyeball, when you put it back in, it just doesn't go back in snugly and behave normally. The fluid coating the brain can leak through the socket and you can die. You can be blinded. You know, it can really mess your visual apparatus up, let's
confused. So Xena was a woman and men were raping her? Why were they together? I missed something.
She's okay, so Xena was a trans prisoner, 6.5 foot.
Oh.
When she first came in, decades before she'd met me, she was big and weightlifting, and she was a debt collector for the Aryan Brotherhood. Now, when I met her, she was tall, skinny. She was making melting plastic and making sex toys. She had her own beaded G-string. And
she's cool.
What she did was they tried to get estrogen smuggled in, and they tried to stop the other chemicals. So Xena wakes up one morning, grabs a felt tip pen, draws lines on her scrotum, drinks a cup of coffee, and without any painkiller at all, she's got the razor blade and she cuts the scrotum open. Now, the testicles are on branches called the vas deferens. So she goes into one side of the scrotum, cuts through the spermatic cord and the gristle, and she manages to cut one side off. Now, the other side must have known what was about to happen because it hid, it retracted. So now she's got her hand in her scrotum, up in her gut, searching for this other testicle.
This is horrible.
I love this.
This red hot pain is hitting her now from cutting the first one off. Where she's got it tied off to stop the blood comes undone, and the blood starts spraying across the cell. She's now bleeding to death and losing consciousness, but she believes she's got to get this other one off. It's a one-shot deal. She said she could feel squishy things like organs while she's scrambling around to find this thing. But in the end, she didn't find it. And the prison was informed, somebody saw this, and they managed to get a helicopter to the prison just in time to get her to hospital to save her life. Now, Xena was put on suicide watch for a year, and when she got off suicide watch, she cut the other testicle off.
Jesus Christ. So just when that testicle thought it was safe to slink back down into the sack, slice!
This is the most hardcore individual I've ever heard of. Like, it's so comical to me that she plucked out a rapist's eyeball with her bare hand. And then the next week or month or whatever, some time period passed, and that same group of rapists got together and said, you know what we should do? We should go rape the eyeball plucking chick. We should go rape. Wait. Why do they call her the eyeball? Well, they point at Dan, and he's got a fucking eye patch on. He's like, I don't know, guys. That seems like a good idea. I'm not going in first. I'll say that for damn
Fool me
sure.
once. Shame on you.
The second guy is like, oh, God, I deserve this. I knew what was coming. I saw her sharpening her nails. I saw her practice on round body parts with her own nuts.
Let me tell you what happened next then. So, all right. So, rape attempt 1, eyeball comes out. Rape attempt 2, eyeball comes out.
Is she big and strong during the eye plucking, or is she the later?
Yeah, she was collecting debts for the Aryan Brotherhood.
At that point,
6.5 foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a big.
So eyeball comes out 2 separate occasions. Eyeball comes out. They classify Xena as extremely dangerous, and they move on to some of her friends. Now, one friend is gang raped. They shove a light bulb in his backside, and they make bets on who could smash it first. And that prisoner committed suicide afterwards. Another one is gang raped. They get a shovel from the work crew. They hold him down, cut his head off. And when his head is finally off, they put it on display in a part of the prison to show the gangs that they're the most violent and ruthless out of all the gangs.
And which gang did that one?
Aryan Brotherhood.
Okay. Jesus.
Right?
That is really intense.
That escalate like the first 2 examples were just horrific, but then it escalated so far when we got to a beheading that it's just like, where do you go from here? I recently was a month and a half ago, watched one of your videos, and it was about a mystery that I had heard of before, but the time I'd heard of it before was probably from like one of those like Fox specials where they leave it up in the air. Was it aliens or the devil?
It's one of the two.
50-50.
It's definitely one of them.
But it was, and I think it might be one that I have mocked on here before because of one of the facts in the case. So this is you'll know them right away. I know the pieces. This is the one where that lady survivalist led her group of student survivalists, and only one ended up surviving their retreat, and that person that was a young lady, and she reported the rest of the group like falling ill, going into seizures, clawing at their skin, their faces and stuff, and dying subsequently. And she couldn't understand or make what was happening, and so she just fled. And like 2 or 3 more days later, they found her, but then they didn't go back for the bodies for like couple of weeks or something like that. By then the evidence was so and no one's ever really figured out, but it's could you help me out with like what
Absolutely.
actually
So that's the Khamar Daban Pass. That's the region where it happened. It happened in I think it was the 80s, if I remember correctly, 80s, 90s, on the border of Russia and Kazakhstan in a region known as like the Khamar Daban mountain region. I gave most of the details in the video, but the short run through is that this lady was known for taking these groups of hikers on these like week-long hiking trips up into the mountains around Kazakhstan, which are pretty considerable mountains. You've got to be like a decent survivalist to begin with to get up there. And this specific group that she went with was a group of her students, so to speak, who she'd been doing it with for a couple of years. So they were like very experienced. And this pass that they were going on wasn't particularly hard by any means. It was comparatively easy. They had taken all the food that they needed for the amount of time given. There was other groups who were hiking the mountain at the same time that they had planned to have rally points where they would meet up and then continue. And then one day, I believe it was about 5 days into the trip, the other group she was supposed to meet with did not see her at one of these rally points, or her group. And it had rained the day before. So yes, there's a good idea for what the region's like. it had rained the day before, so they just figured, oh, well, they probably just got slowed down because of the rain, and like we'll see them whenever we get there. But sure enough, they get to the bottom of the mountain, and that group isn't there. So eventually, they launch an investigation. People start looking, and then about 3 days later, one of the students who was in that group shows up at a local city, and she goes to the police and tells them a whole story. The exact details of what she said isn't known. And then 2 weeks after that, and that's like one of the real suspicious details of the case. They didn't launch an investigation for 2 weeks. Weather was pretty clear at the time. 2 weeks later, they go look for them up on top of the mountain. And then there is video footage of the entire search for them and their eventual finding of the body. And then I believe it was 6 people. The survivor made 7. 6 people, all within a couple hundred feet of each other, are just lying dead in a clearing on top of the mountain. They're like, a couple of them are lying next to each other. One of them's like more towards the woods as if they're running away. 2 more together at the front of the woods. And it starts to paint a really weird picture. The initial idea at the time was that the survivor had murdered the others, because logically, if 6 people die, only 1 comes back, that would be the solution. However, there was no evidence on the bodies that there was any kind of fight or any kind of strangulation marks or whatever. But then even more suspiciously, after doing a full autopsy, there was no evidence of anything that happened to these bodies. They just kind of dropped over. There wasn't signs that you would see in hypothermia, like late stage, what is it? Like the lung fluid starts to contract or recede or whatever. And the skin of the bodies were too decomposed at this point to see if they were frozen up or anything. So it remained a total mystery of what had happened for about 20 years. Eventually, a reporter, actually it's more like 30 years, it's like 28. A reporter eventually tracked down the one survivor and asked for testimony, because what had happened is she gave the police a testimony and then never mentioned it to anyone else. So she finally sat down with the reporter after 30 years and gave her side of the story and said that what had happened is they were just walking down the mountain. Everything was normal. It had rained the day before, although they were okay. They had ate breakfast. And then one of them starts screaming and coughing up blood. And then it was the teacher, runs over to help him out. She kneels down next to him and immediately starts coughing up blood too. She looks up at the group and blood is running out of her eyes, and she's telling them to get away. So, of course, the 5 remaining begin to freak out and run. And as they're running, one of the guys drop. Exact same thing happens to him. One of the girls, I think it was maybe his girlfriend or something, comes back to help. Same thing happens later. To her.
Carry on.
Yeah, it's like such a weird, bizarre story.
Yeah.
Eventually, the rest of them run, and the only one who keeps running and does not succumb to whatever's happening is the one girl who ended up being a survivor. She had enough temporary shelter on her back. She was able to set up camp for the night, although all of the food was with the people who had died. So the next day she did the math and was like, I can't walk for 4 days without food or water. I'm going to have to go back to the bodies. So the next morning she gets up, she goes back to the bodies, and they're all still laying there. They're in the exact same position that they had dropped down at. So she took her food and managed to make the hike. The 4 days, went to the police station. And the reason she said that she had never told that story is because she assumed no one would believe her and would think that she's covering up for some reason. Because, if one girl survives a hiking trip and then is like, no, they all started bleeding from the face, that's going to cause some suspicion, which is the reason she told
when
them.
they found the bodies, and you were saying they didn't see anything about them having died in a curious condition. Mm-hmm. What about all the vomiting and the blood and the
it had been 2 weeks outside, so the top layer of skin was just darkened, sunken in across the face. All the blood at that point had either, whenever someone dies outside in the woods, there's a lot of bloating and pustules and other gross stuff.
Not to mention the crows had picked these people's eyeballs out, and the foxes ate their lips off. God knows what was left of them.
Yeah, it probably looked pretty bad.
You can't see the full body on the video, but he comes up to someone who's laying face down, and you can see his hands, and they're just black and emaciated. So they're in a pretty rough condition. They weren't able to tell anything if they're
one of those Everest bodies you see.
Yeah.
Where it's they look like a really old piece of dog shit.
So I think you've one of your explanations, and probably the one that you think is the best, is what I agree with, and it makes a lot of sense to me. But before we I feel like it's almost a spoiler. Let's see what Woody and Taylor. Do you guys have any theories about what could have gone wrong here?
So she didn't murder them.
You know where this happened, the time
that was
of
one
year,
of the theories.
And the roughly the
I like this game, Kyle. This is good. This is
the murder thing. The murder thing doesn't make sense because you said it was a woman who survived, and it was a group of people who would have fought back if someone was just sort of willy-nilly murdering.
Yeah, the survivor was
what about poison? Girl. Could you poison? Are there any berries that cause symptoms what they experienced, or any food like that in the region?
Go ahead.
Well, they're all survivalists, right? Like they know the poison.
They could be bad ones.
From the good.
I painted something today. It's terrible.
But these are.
Taylor, I don't like the way you're doing this. You need to lay out your
let me lay this out. So
Wendigoon
gave you the fast forward version, but these are the best. This lady, I think I've made fun of her before in the past. Some lady led a bunch of kids up into the wilderness, and then they all ran out of their tents naked at night and froze to death. I think that's what I had heard. But no, she was a legit fucking Sarah Connor style survivalist lady who knew her shit and knew how many calories each person would need to be eating each day, down to 100 calories, and she was an expert.
Here's my theory.
Okay.
She looked at her food supplies, determined that there wasn't enough for everyone to live, found some way to kill the people around her so that she could, and made it out.
Okay. So murder is
the way I'm going on this.
Okay.
All right.
Did she report that they were short on food during their expedition? I guess if you murdered someone for food, you wouldn't.
They could have made it out. They could have made it out without food as long as they had water, right? Because they're survivalists.
4 days. Yeah.
To continue giving the facts, whenever they found the bodies, most of them had their food supplies still on them that hadn't been ate through.
Okay.
Indicating that they didn't starve. So.
Oh, I'm gonna change my answer. There was a romance thing. She didn't like. There was some sort of interpersonal thing going on.
7-way, and she wanted to be she wanted a good old fashioned traditional 4-way.
God intended.
This guy,
Four men,
that guy, this guy a girl, but she wanted to be liked instead. So she murdered 3 or 4 of them, so they wouldn't know she was targeting that girl in particular.
Or maybe
it all happened so quickly, apparently, because they're all in that little area.
Well, if I thought it was that, I would probably imagine a scenario where she killed one girl, but then she got caught, and maybe they were like, "You killed Amber. We're telling on you when we get back," and then she poisons everybody that night.
Just became a brawl. Oh, you're saying she killed them after one murder? I see what.
Yeah. Because what are they gonna do? Arrest her? They're 4 days out. They're like, I can't believe that's what would happen. They'd be like, I can't believe you killed Amber. And maybe they got into a fight.
You don't tie him up or something. If someone murders someone on a camping trip, you don't go, "Hey, strike one, Buster." That's fucking absurd. No, you would tie them up and leave them, if anything.
If it was a cute girl and there were other girls there to be like, "Mark, you're not gonna tie up Becky, are you? Her hands are turning blue. She said she can't breathe." What do you mean she can't breathe? Her hands are tied. She can't breathe.
I don't imagine.
You cut those ropes just to avoid the screaming.
This is funny because
that's how it happened. And then one guy got so tired of it, he tied them all up, and then
he just left them.
Just a random woodsman was like,
all 6 of them were tied up in one circle. Crazy how bears do that randomly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying it. There must be an answer to this that you guys know. I don't want you. I keep going back to poison. I don't understand what can make everyone do the same thing.
Yeah, according to my theory, the one that I subscribe to, you're not far off with the poison.
Mm-hmm. Right. I was about to say that. Yeah.
What do they suspect?
Spill the beans, Wendigoon.
I'll spill the beans. All right. So this is kind of like a bit of a cheat because you didn't know this information going in. However, this region of the Khamar Daban region, which is again on the border of
full of ghosts.
Very haunted.
Notoriously full of ghosts.
The ghost.
It's the home of the Ghoul King.
Oh yeah, it's a bad area where we got bad with ghosts. Lousy with ghosts. Yeah.
Right with
with ghosts.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's ghost season up there. You jest, but this is how most of the theories I read about. This is where they come from.
They're fun. I like it.
They are. Anyway, so that region that's on the Russian border was used during the Cold War as a weapons testing facility. That is an openly documented fact that they would use the mountains to test mortar fire or artillery barrages, and most importantly for this story, gas attacks. There are specific strains of nerve gas that were tested in the region at that time that can last in the air for, I think some of them are up to like 1.5 years. Like once they're detonated, they just have to disperse, and then hopefully no one breathes it in. And a lot of them were detonated like in these completely obscure like canyons and mountains for that reason. Most importantly to this story, most of them are pliable to water. So if you were to physically flush a region or wash it, it would cause the gas to not be destroyed, but to move somewhere else. So the theory that a lot of people subscribe to, and the one that makes the most sense to me, is that they're hiking down the mountainside, and then it had rained the day before, which again matters for this story. So it rains, and this rain causes a washout of a mountain, a canyon, a valley, or something, and causes the gas to move along the mountainside. This group of hikers are then walking, and it's also important for this story. This was like in the final years of the Cold War, whenever stuff like nerve gas was being developed a lot. So it makes sense that if they did test it, it would still exist around there. So they're walking down the mountainside, and then all it takes, I forget what the name of the one I showed in the video was that was tested in that region, but it is so effective that like half of one of Kyle's vape hits would kill you instantly. It just takes a very minute amount. So as it's flooding through the region, one of them just breathes in a little bit, and that would immediately cause the lining of their lungs to begin to fall apart. It would cause the bleeding of the eyes and other soft tissues. Another detail I didn't mention, according to the survivor... Kyle's dying. Yeah, see, like that, the nerve gas, there it goes. What I saw that scratch in your eyes. What I didn't mention is one of the girls who was affected, according to the survivor, she started bashing her head onto a rock and like scratching at her throat, indicating that it was painful or she could feel something in there. So that would explain what Kyle's about.
What about the rock? Because of the pain?
Oh, well, she would have been feeling like the inside of her eyes and like nasal cavity bleeding and flaring out. And according to this girl, she just started hitting her head against a rock as she was dying.
That is so fucked up.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. That would also explain why one of them got affected, and then the person who came to stand in the same spot they were also got infected. There's also the very important mention from the survivor that it was foggy on the mountain that day, which could have not entirely been fog. So yeah, the theory that a lot of people go with, and I'm not the only harebrained one, this is kind of like the consensus online, so to speak.
No, I'm in, man.
That they were victims of old Soviet weapon testing. So
yeah, that makes when you said that in your video, I was like, yes, that checks too many boxes with it's in the right region, the right time frame, and the right effects. And I don't know anything. I'm sure there's some poisons that would cause that, but none that should be there other than the ones that were being tested there in the region. Now, whether it was a cloud of it that like moved in a special, unique way, that I'm not so sure. I could easily see one of them found the shell and had it in his bag. And then maybe the cops found it and were like, oh, call the military. And the military was like, you never saw this. Like something like that could have happened. But
that's
because the cloud seems like funky to me.
That's also part of the reason. So her original police statement was never published. She said later that's the story she told the police, and they kept it confidential for some reason. And that's also why people think the police didn't investigate for 2 weeks. Because the police are like, oh, well, that's the old weapons testing. We want to make sure that stuff clears out of the area before we go up there and go looking.
Because the military is like, hey, police, give us 2 weeks. And then trust me, you can walk on as much grass and turn over as many leaves as you like.
During the Cold War, anything like that would have been suppressed. The United States was suppressing tons of stuff, and the Soviets were even worse. You needed to hide every failure because it made you, it was life or death.
Nick, we were talking before the show about talking to police. And
don't do it, but yes.
Oh, that's every expert I've ever seen on YouTube or talked to in person gives that same advice. Say nothing. If they're colorful, they'll say shut the fuck up, right? That's the advice we always get.
Right. Shut the fuck up Fridays from the Justice Brothers.
I know them. Yes, yeah. All right. But on the other hand, we've all had experiences where, you know, the cop pulls you over speeding and you're like, yes, I spilled the milk. I'm so sorry. I don't typically spill milk. I'm not a habitual milk spiller. This one exception, I made a mistake. And, you know, if you could see fit to let me off with a warning, I'm the sort of guy who deserves it. This isn't me. This is what I think police want to hear when they pull you over. I made a mistake. This isn't who I am. Can we let it slide? If you just say, I don't talk about my day, I don't like police, I don't answer questions, you're probably going to go to court. You're not going to talk your way out of it.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the feel you get from the cop. I've run the gamut of cop interactions. When I was driving home from law school one day, because I went to school at night, and I was driving home, and it was 2 hours away. So I was getting home. It's like 1 a.m. and I was so close to my house, and the speed dropped from 65 to 55, and I just wasn't paying attention. I was dead tired, and I was probably going like 70 or something. And the guy pulls me over, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, I just got out of law school. I'm tired. I'm sorry. Right. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. You know, I know you just missed the signs. Like, I'm like barely alive. Just my house is a mile and a half from here. Can I just please go home?
To be honest, officer, this is akin to drunk driving. I'm so tired.
He's like, yeah, just get out of here. I just want to make sure people are staying safe. And that was fine. Like, and you could kind of tell from his demeanor that it was okay. You know, but so people kind of take this advice, don't talk to the cops, really, really literally. And you should. I mean, if you really want to protect yourself from a ticket, not talking to the cops is the best way to protect yourself. But what you're talking about isn't protecting yourself, right? What you're talking about is basically being candid and just asking for a little bit of mercy. And that's a way to do it. But on the other hand, I got pulled over by a really pissed off cop, and I was definitely speeding. The problem was I thought I was on a different road because I kind of spaced out. Did that thing where like you get into hypnosis, and I thought I had already exited onto the faster highway. And so I was just driving like I was on the other. So I was speeding like 10 miles over the other limit. And so I'm like 15 over this one. Cop pulls me over. He goes, you know, I pulled you over. I was like, no. He says, do you know what the speed you were going? No. You know what the speed limit is? Nope. Do you know where you are? Not at all. And then he gave me a warning. He's like, okay, because he couldn't actually tag my words to pin me down to a ticket. And this guy was pissed, right? Like he came up to the car. He was hot. He was angry. He's like kind of huffy. And I was like, well, I guess I just got to say no to literally everything he says. Because otherwise what you get is you get an admission. Yeah, I know. I thought it was only 5 over or whatever. You're still speeding. That's still an admission of guilt. And once they can write that down, that statement from you, they've got you in court. Like you're not going to go into court and win. But if they have to go in and prove it, you know, maybe what you do is you go in there and you ask the calibrations, the calibration record of the machine. You check the weather. Was it really cold? Could that interfere with the radar gun? You start asking for all this stuff, and it becomes really expensive for the cops to get $130 out of you. And they don't fight as much. So like for actual legal protection, saying for my advice on getting pulled over is just say no to anything. It's not illegal to not know how fast you're going. It's not illegal to not know what the speed limit is. And it's not illegal to not know what road you're on. So you can safely say no to all those things. Your results may vary.
But I feel like I'd be like, no. And he'd be like, here's your ticket. Fuck.
When I got arrested, it was a long time before they asked me a question that I didn't feel comfortable, like at least replying to. Because for a long time, like there was no sort of like, oh, do you think maybe this happened and that happened? We weren't talking about what was happening. I was like, can I get a smoke? First of all, I knew the cop, one of them. And I was like, Jimmy, can I get a smoke? It's like, yeah, come on, let's get in my car. Like, they're not handcuffing me yet. I hung out in his car for half an hour while they got their warrant and smoked. But it was like an hour and a half later, but when we were sitting at a desk somewhere, I was like, I think that's where I stop answering questions and start, sending it to my lawyer. Y'all gonna need to talk to him because I don't know anything about any of that.
Well, that's the move, right? The police are very, very good interviewers. They do it all the time. So they get very, very conversational with people. They get to know them. They're like, hey, we're just trying to help you out. What's your name? What's going on, man? And they encounter people who are usually in a rough spot in their life. Lots of people, depending on the type of crime that they're encountering, but lots of people are encountering crime because they're in a bad place. And so the cops get really good at sort of that diffusion, build rapport really quick, like a salesman, and kind of get conversational. It also helps them get those answers that they're looking for. So that's one thing to remember is that they're very good at this. And you typically are not very good at answering that type of stuff, because you might only get arrested one time in your life if or for a lot of people, it's never. Some people get really good at it, right? You live in the right hood.
But they've got a script. Like they've done it. They do it every day.
Cops and like officers of various federal agencies have always been some of the more friendly and personable people that I've met. And it's like, man, under different circumstances, I'd really like you, dude. Like that. I almost always walked away from like my dealings with cops, at least good cops, and with thinking like, seems like such a nice guy. I wish we weren't on the opposite ends of this one. I wish I knew something about
in another world. We could have been friends.
For real. Yeah.
It serves their purposes really well too, because, if they're approaching someone who's in distress, they have a weapon, maybe they don't know what this person's up to, right? They don't know what they're capable of. They're coming into a situation. It's much better most of the time to lead with some kindness and be approachable rather than come in, full force jackboot. Otherwise, they might get shot or stabbed. The person might have some murder suicide intention. You never know what that person's up to. But if they can calmly approach them safely, they don't see a weapon or whatever, that's a beneficial way to do things and to keep the situation cool before whatever happens next. And they may have plans to arrest that guy in the most rough way possible. But it's always good to start off like, hey, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
What's going on with what are you doing with both of those guns? Is one not enough? It's like,
I have a legal question because this keeps. It's not a good one, but anyway, here's the deal. The police finally.
Everybody listen. What he's got a question?
Yeah. So the police finally found out about all my murders, right? And here I am being questioned, and I say, you know what? No more questions. Talk to my attorney. But low key, I don't have an attorney, and I don't know how to choose one. I'm in the room. I have maybe one phone call. What do I do? Google Maps? Like what?
No, they'll bring you a phone book,
and then you just use that to choose your attorney.
Find one.
We just got to get out of the room, right? Like you just need a guy that gets
you just turn to the names and hope for the best.
Just don't go to the first one because that guy's just there because his name starts with A.
Yeah,
he probably changed it to that.
God, I got fucked. I went with Aaron Aronson again.
But no, it's I mean if you can't get an attorney, they have to stop asking you questions, and you can petition for a court-appointed attorney at that point too. Say, hey, I don't have an attorney. I need an attorney for this. I don't have an attorney. You're under arrest. They can't just keep you without providing that. If you qualify, you can't just lie. Like, well, I got $100,000 in the bank. I can't afford an attorney though. They're like, okay, well, here's one. No, but if you go through the same process that you would get for a public defender, and they'll get an attorney for you if you need to. But otherwise, they'll bring you a phone book and say, here you go. Call whoever you want out of this thing. But
that's what they do.
The other thing, cops, when you invoke your right to remain silent or your right to an attorney, they have to stop interrogating you. But the trick is not everything they do is an interrogation, right? They can start talking. And the most common thing they'll do is talk to their friend next to you about whatever, to try and coax you into saying something about, like, to correcting them. No, that's not what happened. And then the interrogation can continue because now you've injected yourself into the conversation. So that's the hardest thing for people to say. I'm shutting up. I want to talk to my attorney, nothing else. and then they just don't. Like they sit there and they're like, no, I mean, he had it coming. but yeah. But yeah, they have to give you the opportunity to get an attorney. You don't have to have an attorney, although you should. Like if you're a gun owner, for example, you should have an attorney that deals with those types of things, that you can call if you get arrested for something, especially like a self-defense shooting or something like that, or your gun gets confiscated. You're at a bar, you're involved in a bar fight, and they're like, oh, you can't have this at the bar. Whatever it is, you should have an attorney who's familiar with those issues as a gun owner, because it will help you rather than calling up the guy in the phone book, right? Like you don't want that guy. You want the guy who knows what he's doing.
And it won't cost you a ton to just go to a guy's law office and get his card. You don't have to have a gun retainer. You just have to figure out who the guy is and have his business card in your wallet.
It seems like bullshit that public defenders aren't available for wealthy people. Like firemen are available for wealthy people. They don't say, you know what, you could afford a fireman, therefore we're going to charge you. They don't say that about police. They don't have toll roads that ask for your 1040s and say only wealthy people have to pay these tolls. That there are very few government services where they restrict them from you, where they say you can't have this because you could buy it privately.
Public defenders are the equivalent of welfare. It's like you can't get anyone here to speak for you.
That's a strong point. It's bullshit that welfare is not available to wealthy people.
I want some. I heard Chicago's got that $500 universal income coming, and it's like right off the top, huh?
500 smackers.
500 smackers every year. I hope
that'll get my heroin addiction going. It's fine.
500 a month. Like that'll buy all my drugs, and they're legal there. So.